Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rainbow Six North America Last Chance Qualifiers. Sierra, Lax, Jesse, back at it. We got one team now, Lax, that have made their way officially into our semifinals, with Oxygen taking the win over SSGA.
Yeah, and it's good, it's good for Oxygen to make that. Again, I touched up on it briefly at the end. I expected this to happen. Still, hats off to Academy. They put up a really strong performance. I am proud to see that transition from a T2 into a T1 game. So again, it met my expectations in terms of how they were playing, and I was impressed nonetheless. But again, hats off to Oxygen, but the road's not done yet.
Definitely not. Up next, we got to figure out who their opponents are going to be. Keep moving along down our bracket. It's going to be Wildcard going up against Soniqs. And looking at these teams, Jesse, I feel like this is a trend here at this point. I need to see a different look than I saw from that first stage heading into the Last Chance qualifiers.
No, you're absolutely right, Sierra. For me, this is the most exciting quarterfinal because we have two tier 1 teams and two teams which really haven't been showing their best. I think both of these squads are coming into this LCQ with something to prove, right? They've both been having some really serious struggles, whether it's on their defenses, on their attacks. They've really been having some rough moments. So we want to see both of them improve, and if they both can do it, then we should get a great game. If only one of them does, then, well, I think that team will walk away with the dub.
Yeah, 100%. And when we're talking about the changes, we got to first look at Soniqs, because it's not just a gameplay thing, but right out the get-go, Lax, it's evident a change in the roster that we're headed into for the LCQ.
Yeah, it's hard not to look at this roster and then seeing a very big name that we have talked about throughout history of Soniqs forming as a team, and that's Grixer. So this for me is already interesting in and itself, and to see how this performance with this new Soniqs, well, I say new, but it's still the same Soniqs, just now bringing old Grixer back into the role.
Yeah, and this is obviously going to be the biggest talking point for the entire LCQ. Grixer coming back into the roster after being benched on Soniqs, replacing Geo. And I like the roster move and I don't. On one hand, undoubtedly, Soniqs were the worst defensive team in North America. They were struggling so much to find those wins on defense. And Geo was the defensive IGL. He obviously had a big influence on that. He clearly was struggling, I think, on that half. And there's been a lot of talk about kind of how his calling and IGLing maybe wasn't up to snuff on that defensive half, or wasn't how the team wanted to be playing. But on the other half, and Grixer's a great player, but on the other side of it, I don't know if I love the timing of this move. You've just made so many roster moves, bringing Adam and Merc into the lineup. Even, Ambi is still relatively new to this lineup. Now you've got to switch around your IGLing structure. You have very few days coming into this LCQ. I think it's going to be very tough for Soniqs to make this land and make this move work in the short term. Yeah, in the long term, maybe it's the right call, but I think it's going to be a really big test to see if Soniqs can, in such a short period of time, make such a drastic change work coming into this Last Chance qualifier.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Swapping out Geo for Grixer, which again, I do like Grixer coming back. I think it baffled all of us when we saw Grixer go to the bench to begin with, but swapping out Geo and, like you were saying, just changing that integral piece of your strats and your calls, that's going to be difficult going into this LCQ.
It's definitely what I have my eye on heading into this matchup. But of course, we have to talk about Wildcard as well going on into this, and talk about kind of how things have been looking up for them here. Because when I look at Wildcard, they're so amply named here, Wildcard. You don't necessarily know what you're going to be getting out of them. And I think that is something that, Jesse, when I look at this team, I need to see the good parts of it coming on through.
No, you're absolutely right. I really think Wildcard have had struggles with consistency throughout this stage. They'll look great on one play day, and then the next play day completely fumble. I think nothing really amplifies that or showcases that as much as their final play day. We see Kansan here, the highest EPS of any player on the team. He has been their big star player, and he's a great fragger in his own right, but shutting down when it mattered the most. When they had that final game against Dark Zero, where it was do or die, play well, win this game or go home, and they crumbled. He had his worst game of the stage in that matchup against Dark Zero. So for a lot of these players on Wildcard, they're great individuals. We know how good Rampy can be. We know how good some of these players can perform on this roster, but they're just not showing it consistently enough.
And now when you look at this head-to-head, again, both these teams are 7th and 8th place, obviously a little different in terms of seeding, but they finished 7th and 8th in the regular stage. And realistically, they were both really close to even going up a couple placings had they just won. Like you were saying, had they had that win against DZ. But when you look at these, everything is so relatively close, which is why today should be one of the better matches. But then on top of it, a huge reason why I see these stats so close, if we can then go into the map pool of wildcards, the wildcard map pool really is not that strong. You look at Bank, they found a 2-0, and they actually did find a 2-0 most recently against Soniqs, but then you have Oregon. They played it 3 times, they only won it once, then they lost Labs, they lost Chalet, and for those stats alone, I mean, you'd think for a team that had a lot of time to work together and they just slotted in Bosco, that they would be having more success, that they would be having more of a vast variety of a map pool, but we aren't seeing that. And now you're in the LCQs, which they did find themselves here before on the old Mirage, and they were 1 game away from making Atlanta, but you almost look worse than what you were looking like before you go into Atlanta. So I really hope going into this LCQ and the time that they've had to really buckle down and hone in, that they can at least update their map pool and maybe snuff out a couple of these wins.
Well, ahead of today's match, of course, I always love being able to hear the insights from those that know the most. So let's get some thoughts from Coach Super and from Striker.
Obviously, we weren't happy with how we did in groups as we didn't make playoffs. We had an issue where we just kind of like weren't fully playing in games how we practice some days. We're practicing with a lot more intensity and practicing almost like game day.
I think we played terrible in the group stage. I thought we were all over the place. We were disorganized. We had differing ideas. Since the end of the stage, we've made the decision to bring Grixer back to the team and commit to one singular vision. And based off of the practices I've seen up until this point, I think we're much improved.
Well, since they benched Geo and picked Grixer back up, it'll be a very different Soniqs than we played in the group stage. You know, that TSM that won invite played very fast. And then Merc was IGLing that team, so I expect to play a lot like them.
I thought we played terrible in the first matchup against Wildcard. I think that was part of when we were going through what I would call like a team divide on how we were playing, and it was being pushed in 2 different directions.
We actually only played like 4 maps in groups because we ended up just playing Oregon like 4 times because teams just kept taking us on it. People, when they look at our map pool, don't think it's that strong, but we're excited to show a more diverse set of maps that we have been practicing this whole time. It's just we just didn't get to play them.
I think they have some inconsistencies, and maybe they've shown that they have a bit of a lack of a map pool, but they have a really talented team. They have a major winning coach in Meepy, so we're definitely not expecting it to be, you know, some cakewalk for us. We're going to go in there expecting it to be a close match, and hopefully we come out with the victory.
All right, well, it's time to start heading into this series and start figuring out where it's going to be and head into our map vetoes, Lax. And looking into the series too, like, I'm going to send this one to you first because you had spoken about the issues that Wildcard has with their map pools.
Yeah, no, their map pool is extremely weak, as we saw. So I'm really hoping that we can see maybe a little something different. I think one of those maps will probably squeak in there. I just hope it's not Oregon. Please don't be Oregon. I do not want Oregon in this map pool. Okay, thanks. Perfect. I mean, I don't want to say perfect, but it is a map that they are actually finding success on. But again, you just recently played Soniqs on it, and Soniqs letting that through only means that they have done all the prep, that whether that's Super doing that, whether that's Goddess doing that, both heads colliding together to make a strat to counter you. Going into that first map is no surprise that I think, honestly, Soniqs probably run away with that first map. And then looking into a Clubhouse, another very default map. Not very confident for Wildcard in these first 2 map picks. I definitely think this falls a little more in Sonic's favor. And then what is that decider? Okay.
Little border.
That's
Well, border to come through. I mean, yeah, I think Soniqs really going very bread and butter with this. Clubhouse was the most obvious pick for them to lock in the map that they were 2-0 on throughout the stage, and a map that we haven't seen Wildcard banning too much, so not a shock that it's been let through. I kind of expected Soniqs to ban the bank because it did look so rough from them the last time we played against Wildcard. Obviously, that was a dominant roam clearing performance, especially on the attack coming through from Wildcard. If what Super says is correct, and you know they've really refocused on defense and they've managed to come in with a new focus, then I get the logic again. Like, makes sense. If they can come in with a brand new bank, then absolutely, I'm excited to see it. But just based on the history, based on the games that I've been able to watch, this is going to be a really shaky map for Soniqs to let through the ban phase.
I mean, we're all about the learning here. You know what? If it's not going to work in the LCQ, it's not going to work if they make it to Manchester. So get it out of the way, rip that Band-Aid now. Quickly, before we head into this, I need prediction scores coming out from both of you. Lax first.
I'm going to go with Soniqs just for the sole purpose that they just recently played each other. And again, with Super's vision. So I'm going to say at least a 7-4. Soniqs.
Okay.
I want to see the Sonics improvements before I bet on them. I'm going to go wild card. I'll also go 7-4. Same scoreline, different team.
Way to copy me, dog.
Which one of you ended up in top of the predictions again? I have to recall back. For stage
Are
one.
we going off of like, well, I was the last. I was in first, but I completely threw it because I wanted to get a little silly and like make my lead super far, which then ended up plummeting me into last. So I kind of was like, well,
Long-winded of saying me. Well, a long way of saying.
So you think that Jesse then is going to be copying your homework here? Then you see, instead of just going the opposite. I guess you did technically go the opposite, but
Yeah.
All right, I'm intrigued by this too. So Jesse, I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. You're talking about, you're expecting the 7-4 coming out from Wildcard. Is that to say that you expect a Wildcard version today that is, better, considering that they can be a little quickly at times, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Wildcard, when you look at their problems, right, a lot of it's come on attack, and a lot of it's come with them really like stalling out and not being able to really punish kind of big, heavy roam games. And that was a big problem that we saw on Oregon from them. But Bank has always been a map that they've been comfortable on. They've been really, really clean when it comes to getting those early picks, making sure they can find some of those aggressive plays. I've been really enjoying Spiker's play on Bank. He likes to play the Dokkaebi. One time it was banned out against him, but he was still able to find some ways around it to contribute to that roam clear. So, I mean, this is a map that Wildcard can feel very, very comfortable on. I'm not so shocked that they picked it, even if it would have been nice to see some variety. And again, for Sonics, like I want to see it first. I'm hopeful that they can pop off.
Sonics hater.
I'm not a hater. I just want to see it, all right? I want to see how they do. I want to see what this new defensive structure looks like. It's obviously a lot of change in a short period of time, so I will test the waters with map one.
All right, I'm going to take that one thing you said, the short period of time, and apply it to our own broadcast. We're about to take a short break here before we get started with the match, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We go to Bank to run it back between Sonics and Wildcard, the map where these two teams clashed in the best of one, where they met up during the regular season of the closed league. But now, Sonics look to change the course of history with a new roster, with Geo out of the mix, and with Grixer in his place. They look to fix some of those defensive troubles they had on this map. They went 1-5 to start out this map last time, Flynn. Hoping to change that, as defense is where things will begin.
Listen, I think there's still a lot of expectations being placed upon this Sonics roster, even with the unfortunate performance during the group stage. And for them, this is an opportunity to kind of salvage a stage where things didn't go quite the way you wanted to. Had some significant overhauling of the roster in the offseason at the conclusion of the Six Invitational and heading into stage one. So while we have seen a lot of roster changes throughout the league and honestly globally as well, for the Sonics, it seems to have affected them pretty poorly. And now we have another swap coming in with Grixer coming off the bench. The desk didn't touch on it, but I did want to bring up, he did tweet that he fractured his shoulder. I don't know if that's bait or if that's real. He did attach a picture of an x-ray. I mean, you can't just Google a picture of an x-ray. So I'm 50-50 on whether or not that's real, but if it is, that's also another hurdle that the Sonics are going to have to overcome. If it's not real, it's excellent bait because he got me to talk about it on the broadcast. And for the Sonics, like you said, trying to reverse the curse of previous games played on this map, especially against Wildcard, downstairs they will go to start things off on the defense.
I mean, it's rare that we get a chance to look at the exact same matchup happening earlier this stage and kind of pull any lessons we can from that. Like we said, it was that 7-4 victory that Wildcard ended up securing in the best of one. Again, very different than a best of three. And of course, the stakes were different at the time. The storyline's a little different at the time. The roster was a little different at the time. But now they meet here in the LCQ. The only two teams here in this LCQ, at least in this opening round, who will meet, who already met in the closed league portion of the NA League. Everybody else is dealing with one of those open qual teams coming in. Not the case here, though, for the 4 and the 5 seed in Wildcard and Sonics, respectively, here. So we'll see what they've got in store for us. As we said, all eyes are on Sonics today and how Grixer coming back into this roster, which he used to mesh with so incredibly well, but he stepped away and now he's back. How this is going to play out, and if we're going to see direct concrete improvements on Bank. Wildcard, of course, picking into this map. It went their way last time, a very reasonable choice. But the fact that Soniqs didn't ban it suggests at the very least they're comfortable going back here to try their hand at it again.
The Soniqs opting as well, not only to take the Azami off the board in terms of operator bans, but to ban the Twitch and then take a gander at their lineup. Goyo, Kaid, Tubarao. A lot of Twitch work has been done in this stage so far against those three operators specifically. And yet, they will come out and they will not have to worry about a Twitch drone coming in and ruining their designs on stalling things out as long as humanly possible. You can see Wildcard with the initial drone phase. They're identifying that, hey, there's no resistance up here. There's no bodies up here. We have free entry into the map to start working downstairs onto the bomb site. You're gonna run into a lot of utility that you're gonna have to contend with. And the first thing is gonna be up is either Bosco's torch or it's gonna be Kanzen's Rotaro drones if you can get them downstairs, as they don't have a foothold in server, with server stairs being held by a trusty smoke of Grixer upon his return.
And you see Vertical keeping an eye on the blue stairs. He knows that that is a position that attacking teams, you always have to clear that out eventually if you want to make that push from that CCTV server side of things. Rampy, once the smoke clears, Candela's going to come out and he's going to maybe look to clear this one the old-fashioned way with a nice swing and a few bullets. But at least for Wildcard's sake, they don't actually have to worry about that right now. As you pointed out, Flynn, the Soniqs backing off that position. Grixer not maintaining it, forcing it, backing away, playing safe, and keeping that final smoke grenade in pocket. So you've got that Toxic Babe for the late round to help deny the plant, in addition to all the other utility that is going to be standing in the way of Wildcard. The first Vulcan canisters detonating here now that we reach that 45-second mark. Pretty good spot for the Soniqs defense at this point. It's just going to come down to if they can deny the hatch drop that is just about to come in for Wildcard here.
So much of these walls opened up in towards the lockers, so the Red Hall itself not being manned by the defenders, but Peek's coming up through the hatch. Rampy, he's not spotting the Peek coming in from the lockers single hallway. The smoke grenades coming out. Now positioning for the flash and the drop. The Candelas, the smokes, every piece of utility imaginable, all descending the hatch while Bosco is getting the plant down. The Nitro Cell gets shot out of midair, and the plant will be successful. It's a 5v3, make it a 4v3 as Kanzen falls at the hands of the Flames. But in the end, it's still a man advantage in the favor of Wildcard. Now, the Soniqs trying to play retake back into the bomb site, into the post plant. The hatch is opened. So much of this bomb site is opened up as well, and everyone for Wildcard repelling back and now playing safe, prone behind the electrical cart. Bosco picks up 2 with the M4. It's Merc alone. A nice shot there for 1, but he's got 3 left to find and 15 seconds ticking away against him. He's not going to pull this off with the time available on the clock, taking damage from either side, and Rampy will be credited with the final kill. Wildcard continue the defensive woes that the Soniqs have had. They pick up their first round on the attack.
What a beautiful bait and switch. I love how Wildcard went about that. Now, normally when you get that diffuser down in CCTV in that default plant spot, which is what we ended up seeing, that's typically where a lot of your utility is going to come from. You open up those walls, which they did. That's where the smokes come from. That's where the Candelas come from. You got the hatches open, and you do apply some pressure from there, but not as much pressure as we just saw there from Wildcard. We saw an overwhelming amount of pressure directly being applied by the Ying, by the Habana, directly to the hatch above the gold hall, above that red hall as well, right? Positioned in such a way that almost everyone on Soniqs was directing their attention towards the hatch. They were like, wait a minute, this is where the push is coming from. Wait for the drop, it's coming. Well, the drop never came. Instead, that's just where the utility was coming from, all designed to provide that choke point, to provide the coverage for the diffuser to go down on the other side. Wasn't the craziest of strategies of all time. You're still going through the same motions, the hatch, the wall, getting that diffuser down in the default spot, but just in the way that they managed to kind of pressure the utility from that direction. Soniqs not putting enough focus on that diffuser going down. We did see the C4 thrown out. It got brilliantly shot out of the air just in the nick of time. And Wildcard able to just lock it down in the post plant. Beautifully done.
So much of that positioning from the Soniqs as well, playing deeper back into lockers with longer range weapons, but not the utility to contend with. As soon as Ambi C4 was gone, there really wasn't a response that the Soniqs had to stop the plant in its tracks. And with that round transpiring the way it did, Soniqs, they're going to elect to go to the top floor now. Upstairs to the CEO defense, try and get some traction in this game, not let things get out of hand too early on. Should be noted as well that Bank, in terms of its attacking and defending win rate, it's going to be a little less defender-sided than in the two maps that we saw previously from Oregon and Night Labs. It's a little more wide open, so the Soniqs still with plenty of road in front of them. It's only one round that's passed, but they don't feel confident, at least at the moment, to run it back for the time being downstairs. Instead, Merc is going to start things off onto Rampy with that Vector coming into play. The Mira windows are going to be the next obstacle that Wildcard are going to have to overcome before approaching the bomb site. Spiker, though, with a response right back onto that Mira, who claimed the first life.
Yeah, speaking of, you're not going to have to deal with the Mira itself. Of course, those Mira windows not just going to despawn, still a factor. But we see one of those broken there. The other one, yeah, maybe not quite as potent as before, simply due to the lack of bodies available to cover it. Adam on the Wamai, he's gone for this very, well, I would say, potentially trapped elevator position. He's got some Wamai magnets to support that position, but as the attack continues to build, he will be in jeopardy soon enough. Right now, though, the attack focused on pushing from the other side. Rexon, he sees that, able to collect a kill onto Vertical, so shuts down the IQ. That means that, at least for Bosco, he may have to slow things down a bit. But careful, because Grixer is waiting, still in Janitor, low HP, but he takes the fight anyway, eventually going down. This one a 3v3 now, is Wildcard really putting all of their eggs here into this east side basket, so to speak, really trying to go for this push from this CEO side. Bosco taking care of Rexon, that's another start there. But Ambi, Adam, one each. It's just Spiker, last player standing against two.
And he's gonna have to recollect the diffuser here with 20 seconds on the clock. Calls will come out from where the previous positions were. What a one tap there from Spiker, now trying to lock down Ambi, who's vacated to the top of the spiral stairs. No diffuser, Spiker's gonna go full gunfight on this. Has no idea of the location of Adam as he still stands tall at the top of the spiral stairs. Adam and Ambi, they hold out there. It's a 3v2 advantage for Wildcard that vanished into thin air at the hands of those ACOG scopes.
Man, Ambi and Adam, just bringing that round back from near defeat. Soniqs, yeah, they had a little difficulty early getting in the map. We saw Merc, who got that opening kill, as we said. But then Wildcard, they bounce back. They start to get those kills. And with the opening, multiple openings they had established over on that CEO wall, I mean, it was just a matter of time before they were going to hop in and go for that defuse. As they make that move and as they go to do that, Adam and Ambi come up clutch, getting one kill each, swinging the advantage back in their favor. Not much that Spiker could do in a situation like that. He tried, he got one of the two final kills, but really not something he was going to be able to pull off with limited information. And yeah, like 3 seconds left on the clock. Gotta find the kill. You can't afford to go for the defuse at that point. And of course, he was unable to do it. So Soniqs, there they go on the board, already tying their previous amount of defensive wins against Wildcard on Bank. So I do suspect we're going to see a better performance from them this time than they did last time. That much is clear.
I think in the previous round as well, I wasn't as concerned as I was later on in the round for the Soniqs. I mean, Richard's positioning inside a Janitor, it was made to be a torture simulator by Wildcard, but he was still holding out. He was still doing his job, killing the clock, and trying to take another one with him before he was eventually dropped. I think right there for the Soniqs, it was that unexpected pick from Bosco from the top of the square stairs into the depths of the bomb site. It started to throw things off kilter, but like you said, very good response there from Adam and Ambi, deeper and deeper towards the opposite side of the building nearmost. Now for Wildcard onto the attack. You win one, you lose one. You're still attacking another new bomb site as the Soniqs head over to open area and kitchen to try and get a rally going on the defensive side. Looked like a mute jammer onto the back of the elevator walls on the top floor, stalling out some ex-Kairos momentarily. Spiker on these repels, trying to lock down any defenders who are roaming upstairs. It's Ambi with an ACOG on that UMP up inside of the quad windows. waiting for the repels to come in. He's got so many of these soft walls opened up all the way to the top of square. He's going to be taking these fights. The good news is he has Grixer to back him up over towards conference.
Hands in, Brava drone. Just denied there by the mute jammer as he tried to turn the corner. Second one, he'll send it out, but quickly get off it, instead opting to just swing on in. A bit of information tells him that he can come in and take care of Ambi, but not so much for Spiker. The Hibana trying to come in down in main lobby. He gets fried. Ambi does get quickly traded, but there is still some Soniqs pressure on this top floor for Wildcard to worry about. It's Grixer. He is not giving up this space without a heck of a fight. Not to mention he's got Adam down below with the C4 to help him out. The C4 misses, doesn't come up with much. Merc is actually in the elevator too, so even if Grixer goes down here, should be able to find a trade, but Grixer somehow gets away with one. He takes care of Bosco. Merc now, instead of maybe finding that trade, he now puts himself in danger, but again, winning a fight that just, it didn't look like Soniqs were supposed to win. That's 3 in a row where they've stolen a kill away. Yet another one as Vertical goes down with Merc finished off. That will return this one to a 2v2 as Vertical should be able to get picked back up here. So despite the chaos, 30 seconds remain and we haven't even seen Wildcard look at the objective yet.
There's a lot of will and desire and ability to stand and fight topside right now for these Soniqs defenders. That was honestly one hell of a stand there coming out from Grixer and Merc. Here comes the descension of the marble stairs, and the drop into the small office will be shut down by the rampant fire of the Roni. Now Vertical pushes his way in through the double door at the middle of marble stairs to open area to his demise, and the Soniqs, they stack back-to-back defensive wins. They get close near the end, but Wildcard, unable to have a lot of success pushing into the bomb site in the previous 2 rounds. This will most likely, though, lead the Soniqs to head back down to the basement of CCTV and lockers to try and complete the clean sweep of defensive parameters.
Well, that was quite a round. And even though it did come down to, you know, a nice 2v1 in the end, and it did look like they were going to win, other than the kill that Ambi found, both Grixer and Merc, they really should have died instead of getting a kill first. It seemed like Wildcard had a beat on their position. They did. It seemed like they were taking the fight as 2 or 3 at a time. Each time they were. Yet, every single time, Soniqs were able to just get a kill first. Of course, you got to give it up to Wildcard for getting the trade just about every time. But because Ambi started with the kill, Soniqs could play the trade game too. They knew it. That's why they put so much pressure into that top floor after things started off so well. Merc could support Grixer after Grixer supported Ambi. Each one playing off each other well, playing off that information well to get those kills. So, yes, it was messy. Wildcard could have easily taken that one had they just hit one bullet, maybe a millisecond sooner. But thanks to some well-placed shots, Soniqs take their second defensive win.
Well, Grixer in round number 3 was very reminiscent of Grixer in round number 2. He's about 5 feet away from where he died in the previous round, standing and fighting. He was able to get the kill, so that seemed very intentional from Grixer. My one question is, Merc never had the elevator hatch open, so I'm not sure if that was just a mistake in the setup, or quite literally he said, don't even open my hatch, there's no point, we're playing this until the very end, whichever way it goes. And if it is the latter, then props, because that does take some quite brave will to say that in the middle of a round, again, in a do-or-die scenario like the LCQ. For Vertical and the rest of Wildcard trying to attack in towards the main floor now, try and dissuade any of these roamers from persisting in their positions topside. They are successful in doing so. They burn about a minute on the clock to do so. Sonic showing a little more show of force upstairs, but eventually peeling back towards the bomb site. And they have made a crucial operator rotation. They've got the Fenrir coming out and the Mira coming out on this defense, as opposed to the Kaid and the Goyo that they ran back in round number 1. Well, a few more options in terms of being able to deny the plant. Rexon on the smoke as well. He won't be the first to fall. It'll actually be Ambi, the warden, on the blue stairs. Vert says, we don't care about your Zoto canister. We don't care about Rexon at the bottom of the stairs. We are going to swing and acquire the opening pit.
Yeah, that's a shockingly quick kill, I should say, onto the player on the blue stairs. Normally that position is intact for at least another 30, 45 seconds and requires, at the very least, a bit more utility than that. That was simply, what, swing the corner, get the kill? Easy peasy. Now without Ambi, won't have the Warden, so you won't have that additional operator to stand in the way of the flashes and the smokes that will inevitably come in for Wildcard. Maybe not the smokes in this case. But a good answer there for Rexon. He takes care of Kansan, so removing any Rotero drones that may have remained. 4v4 as we cross that 45-second mark, and just as before, Soniqs, they're not forcing this, they're sitting back and trying to play the utility game. But just as before, Wildcard are amassing quite a force over these hatches.
Pretty sure that kill onto Kansan was from up through the hatch, as that's where the body lays. So no flanks coming up those marble stairs, eluding members of the Wildcard attack. But with 20 seconds ticking away in a 4v4 for the execute, the toxic gas will flood into the bomb site. Multiple members in the Soniqs taking damage, but it's a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. The Vault attempting to push in for the plant, going down with 10 seconds as the last smoke canister gets utilized. Vert has to go for the plant. Bosco has the cover, but Rexon through the smoke is able to drop the planter, and now he's the last man standing. It's Adam deep inside of gold. The plant going down from Bosco. Rampy with the cover. A beautiful 1v1 in the win, and Adam can get them both in the clutch. The Soniqs, they complete the clean sweep of defensive objectives.
And Adam gets it done with the 1v2, making it look easy there, closing it out with the pistol. Another one that just came down to those final few gunfights, and Adam is more than happy that he is the one who came out on top of those. Wildcard, a very reasonable timeout here after having so much success on the attacking side on this map against Soniqs last time these two teams clashed. This is a very different picture right now. 3 rounds in a row for Soniqs. They've got all the momentum. They've completed the clean sweep. Of course, Wildcard able to get that first round, so they are on the board. But they're really hoping to get another round or 2 out of this half before they swap. So a very reasonable time to take a step back and think things over.
Yeah, attack timeout being necessary here for Wildcard just to kind of regroup, and Lax touched on it on the desk as well. You take out Bosco, you put in Slothy. This is the roster that went on a run in the LCQ in Stage 2 last year when they were a much newer team. They had reformed under Mirage back in Stage 2 last year, and it really only had a few weeks to put things together. They had a slow start to the regular season in the stage, but then coming into the LCQ, they were able to pull off what I would call a couple of upsets and make it all the way to the grand finals of the LCQ. You got to imagine, no offense to Slothy, but subbing out Slothy for Bosco puts you in potentially even better of a situation. So we know that this roster is capable of going on runs in these situations. We saw it just 6 months ago. I think for Wildcard now, things are starting to get away from them in these clutch moments, and the time as well. They are running it down to the very minimum. 5-10 seconds left on the clock every single round when we're trying to get into the bomb site. And for an attacking team, that's going to be very difficult because all it takes is one thing to go haywire, and all of a sudden it's lights out. It's a mad scramble. There's just mess in the comms. Nothing is clear and organized, and it becomes a scramble where the Soniqs have prevailed with a lot of heavy firepower in terms of their gun skill. You can say what you want about the Soniqs' performance in Stage 1 this year, but I don't think anyone at any point in time has ever questioned their ability to shoot back.
Wildcard will be changing things up a little bit after that timeout. We see Vertical pulling out the glass for the first time in this matchup. Got the smokes in his pocket. You can expect that he may stay on this window rappel and may use those smokes to just do what Glaz does best. Sit there, get a good line of sight onto your enemies through the smoke, and take care of him like that. On the Sonic side, no Warden, so there's no easy Glaz counter. So they're gonna have to deal with this by, well, avoiding it or by taking him out first, maybe before the smokes go down. That'll be easier said than done though, because it does seem like Wildcard are itching to get a move on here. You see the utility, they are pouring in already. Vertical, just waiting to see that smoke grenade in his hand, him to throw that out. That's a clear sign that Wildcard are looking to make that eventual move. Typically, we're gonna see them open up this CEO wall first. That's what Kansan has his eye on here with the drone, trying to identify what kind of utility might be stopping them. In this case, not much. You don't have to worry about those electro claws. It's just the bandit batteries. It's just, oh, that's just about it. And there are no bandit batteries in position to be a real problem here. So as these smokes go down, Wildcard, they're looking to start to ramp things up.
It seems like Wildcard actually at this time have just foregone the CEO breach. Instead, we're going to rappel in through the cover of smoke. Bosco jumps in, and he lasts on the floorboards of CEO for approximately half a second before being decapitated by the ACOG. Rexton's still playing inside a janitor, even though his mirror window can't see through it anymore, but he can still play behind these reinforcements in a reinforced position. Now the diffuser is surrendered in the middle of the bomb site. Even with those smokes coming down, Vertical was not able to provide ample cover for Bosco. Richter taking a little bit of chip damage through 2 soft walls there. He's going to fire back with the SMG-11. You can see a Tracer narrowly missing the forehead of Rampy. Flashes into the janitor closet as now we just need to rush. It's that 30-second chaotic sequence once again for Wildcard. Rampy makes his entry into the bomb site, but now being matched up in a crossfire, being picked apart from Rexton through the wall. He will not be removed from his power position inside of janitor. Adam tags in for another one, and Vertical is the last one now for Wildcard, stuck on the rappel. He'll answer with one on to Grixer, but with 15 seconds and no diffuser control, this is an easy one to wrap up for the Soniqs. Another swing just for good measure, but Ambi will collect. It's the UMP ringing supreme, and the Soniqs stack 4 in a row.
Well, if you were watching that round at home and you were going, gosh, that looked awfully familiar, a little deja vu, well, that's probably because it looked like your average random ranked stack attack just then. And I know that's harsh, but listen, they all just got on the rappel and tried to swing the same angles, eventually swinging into the site. To what end? Bosco is the guy swinging in the site. He's the hard breach, and you're going to leave the CEO wall reinforced. That's the decision I just don't fully understand. Because as we addressed, there was no denial stopping them. Other than having to take the time to clear out square, worry about a flank potentially, maybe worry about someone looking down that long hall from stock. It was no real problem rappelling in that square window, throwing down a Selma charge, and at least having another angle to work with. I mean, working exclusively through the CEO rappel, you don't have many options there. You're so limited. And even though, yes, maybe you can get a kill or two, Soniqs knew what was coming. They knew what they had to deny. They knew that, okay, if the wall's not opening, the one place they can enter the site to plant is by swinging in the window on the rappel. Ambi hit a nice shot onto Bosco as he worked his way in, as he knew exactly where to look. Interesting choice that results in a Wildcard loss. Another Soniqs win after a Wildcard tack timeout. So no immediate success found in response. One more round on this half for Wildcard to get another attacking win if they can.
Well, Kansan looking to use the Brava to good use, already able to hack away one Valkyrie camera over towards the middle of square. Looking in towards what would be the back half of the bomb site, potentially a default plant position. Should Wildcard get into a spot where they can try and facilitate a plant with a little more coverage this time around? You see Kansan still doing some good work upstairs to the Brava drone. A lot of intel gathering being done. But again, I don't imagine there's going to be much that Wildcard could do anywhere on this top floor that will force these defenders to fall back of their own volition. This is going to be a gunfight. This is going to be trading bombs upstairs. And from the way we've seen the Soniqs shooting thus far, and in return for Wildcard, you got to give the edge to the Soniqs in that heads-up engagement. Spiker once again on the rappel, trying to catch the rotations of Ambi up against those quad windows. He'll be unsuccessful in doing so. It's Merc inside of the janitor closet this time around, as opposed to Grixer. But the position is still the same. The opposition is still the same. The hurdle is still the same that Wildcard need to overcome, and Rampy has decided to get out of the vision if anyone playing deep, and Bosco will start things off onto Ambi, that castle playing by the quad windows, and Rampy will stack up for a second.
Now this one going much better, and it feels like this is how that top floor clear should have gone last time we were on this site. Soniqs not getting those little opportunities that they were able to capitalize on last time. No crazy early kill from Ambi, Merc, or Grixer, at least on that top floor in a situation like that. Now, Wildcard do lose vertical just a couple of seconds after they claim those first 2 kills, but they still sit in that 4v3. They still sit in this advantage, and this time they have this top floor control, and they got it with about 1:10 remaining instead of with about 30 seconds left on the clock. A significant improvement to where we were last time. We're actually going to see Wildcard able to mount some kind of execute on this site, something we were unable to say last time, where the round kind of started and ended all on that top floor. Now, they're still preoccupied with this soft destruction. Naturally, that's Rampy's job here with the skeleton key, trying to pinpoint this defender, which they know is down below in tellers or archives. They have not been able to find that kill yet, and there's only 15 seconds left.
Grixer is able to fire up to the floorboards and claim one life of his own before falling at the hands of Bosco, who carries the diffuser into the small office. He needs to get a move on with 5 seconds left. He's vaulting in. Rexon on a rampage, but Bosco forgoes the planting opportunity on the opposite side of the wall, collects the kill instead. And again, we are coming down to the wire on these attacking rounds for Wildcard. And I think that's Bosco as well, relaying that similar message to the rest of the Wildcard team. But nonetheless, they salvaged that round number 6 in the first half to go into the side swap, only down 4-2.
Smart choice there in the end to pursue the kill, considering how it was all unfolding. There were 3 seconds left. If you do try to jump out of the small office into break room, go for that defuse instead of easy kill, maybe shoot him in the back of the head, all of a sudden it becomes a, oh crap, where is he? Let's try to cover him. Otherwise, if he kills that player, if he kills Bosco going for the defuse, it's over and we lose the round. Instead, Wildcard come out on top. Bosco's great performance continues. He's 8-5 right now, and at the very least, they move into their defensive half with 2 rounds under their belt. So this is a much better place than they could have been in if it were 5-1 for Soniqs, only 2 rounds away from closing out their opponent's map pick. Instead, Wildcard still have a fighting chance. This is their map pick. Now they move on to the defensive side.
Like you said, side swap time. Wildcard looks like they want to roam a little bit more than we saw from the Soniqs on this basement defense. That will be the position of the opener once again. Wildcard, though, moving their way down the marble stairs. We've got a Vigil, Valkyrie. There's a lot of operators here to try and facilitate the roam. This will be Grixer on the IQ. First one to spot out a lot of the defensive utility. Fenrir mines over towards the middle of the square stairs. We got Valkyrie cameras to look out for that Kansan is placed outside, or around the map, I should say. And SQ looking to get into the top floor, try and work their way from the top down. They run into a little more resistance as you got a blue silhouette seemingly still at the top of marble stairs and multiple defenders inside of tellers and archives for the moment. So this will be a multi-layered problem to try and chew through here for the Soniqs on the attack. They're going to take their sweet time gathering as much of the intel as they can before marching in.
And well, we commented on wanting to see Soniqs on the defense correct some of those issues after the Grixer Geo swap. Now we look at their attacking side and see what they can muster here. It was a little better than their defensive side. Last time they did play bank, they ended up getting 3 rounds. But because they went into that 1-5 deficit so early, they didn't get to do more than that. Wildcard took 2 defensive wins, and just like that, 7-4, map was over. This time, very different story. It is Soniqs who are in the lead, and Wildcard who have the responsibility of making a bit of a comeback. They're right behind one. It's Spiker who whips around. He knew it the whole time. Rexon could have sworn he had a bead on his position. Instead, he is the one who goes down first. Grixer quickly trades that back, though, and removes the pesky lesion from play. So at least they're able to go 1 for 1. But they do lose a body early, and losing Rexon, that's not going to help at all. The 4v4 as they turn to the final minute, and Rampy will not allow Soniqs to get a chance to get that kill. Instead, he'll drop away to safety to play this one even when the execute comes around.
Yeah, it looked like Rampy was trying to hang around there to either go 1 for 1 or really hold out hope to get one and then fall back down the hatch to establish the man advantage. We also had the Nitro Cell coming out from Kansan. So that was the only one at the availability of the defensive side of Wildcard. So really, in terms of plant denial, you're looking at, in desperate times, a couple of impacts on vertical, but primarily the 3 toxic canisters coming out from Bosco. The good news is he's got all 3 in his back pocket, and there's less than 30 seconds on the clock. So it's going to be, again, a mad scramble down towards the bomb site. There goes that first toxic canister towards the back of the vault hatch. Smokes come out from Ambi, who's the man carrying the diffuser, and he's in the midst of a crossfire, but he smoked off one section. Vert gets the first one onto Grixer on the execute, and now being shot from behind. Adam with the coverage, but the diffuser is on the floor, and all 3 remaining members of the Soniqs will fall at the hands of Wildcard. Panic scrambles on these executes, and the attacks are not leading to many victories.
Yeah, listen, neither team is going to go down without a fight, and I think Wildcard proving that here, a confident defensive win down below, showcasing a little bit of both in terms of the extension, that roaming strategy, and then just simply that anchor game Something we did see from Soniqs on their defensive half as well, but less so on that specific site. Soniqs were typically a bit more reserved. Their extension really just went onto the blue stairs, and that's just about it. This time, from Wildcard, we saw a little more. We saw just a tiny bit more pressure from them, maintaining their positions up above. I mean, we saw the Legion hanging out in archives, looking for some early action, and he found it. He found that first kill, eventually got traded, but I mean, it all started there. Wildcard just making sure that when Soniqs did go for that push, that they would have as little time left on the clock remaining, and that whatever drones they did have in play were expended if possible. So for Wildcard there, a good start. Looking for more of that, though, to tie it up.
It's a tough one there for the Soniqs. Just with limited time remaining, they had to make a call and make the decision to shift the focus to a backdrop, to a vault drop, and try and open up as many hatches as possible to confuse the defensive Wildcard downstairs as to which avenue was going to be the priority. But the vault drop, even with the smokes coming out on both sides of the board, unsuccessful at getting that diffuser remotely close to the bomb site. It drops inside of the red carpet of vault, and it never moves from that spot again for the rest of the round. So basement defense successful for Wildcard, and now we're seeing an operator that has been pretty heavily countered by another operator on the opposite side of the board. It's the Maestro versus Brava battle. We've seen a lot of this Maestro, even with 3 Evil Eyes now, still not being very popular to play because of the existence of the Brava. In fact, that losing those to the attacking side is so detrimental. You either have to utilize explosive utility to remove them from play once they've been hacked, or you have to constantly be sitting on your Evil Eyes watching for these Brava drones to approach to destroy them with the zaps. So it's just an occupier of time, an occupier of resources, and even with as much damage as you can do with those Evil Eyes, hasn't really come into favor that much of late. Both operators getting play in this round. And Spiker, man, he is millimeters away from revealing himself to Ambi as we got repels out on the lobby windows as well. Spiker with some holes into the printer wall from inside of archives or inside of tellers, looking towards the lobby, waiting for anyone to try and climb those spiral stairs.
Yeah, Adam's keeping an eye on this, just waiting for the peak of someone on Wildcard. Rampy eventually exposing himself, but it's to Rexon instead. Ambi and Merc, though, immediately clap back and get 1 kill each. Now Soniqs taking the lead again. Wildcard, though, their game plan is clear. They want to contest this attack heavily on this top floor. Even Kansan down below, and he saw him a moment ago. He had the C4 prep, looking to send that up through the hatch and janitor. So not trying to give any inch away for free. And of course, a risk is that you may lose a couple of bodies in the process, as was the case here for both Rampy and Spiker. Vertical as well, he's on the prowl. He is all the way down below on the Oryx, looking to make his move late.
Yeah, the opportunity to go for a long flank up those hatches that most likely won't be closely guarded in the dying moments of these rounds. Hatches getting opened up now from Grixer as well. From stock down into open area, the bees coming out from Merc, trying to isolate and identify any of the positionings of these defenders remaining. But once again, we start to come down to the bitter wire in terms of the clock. 20 seconds when the execute falls. Now the Candelas come in tow. No smokes to obscure the vision, though, of these defenders. And these Candelas, they're getting torn up a little bit as they're trying to time them perfectly on the drop. But Bosco is ready and waiting from a distance with the Alda. Chews through Grixer. Once again, the diffuser is unmanned for the Sonic side. Vertical picks up 2 in the clutch. And now it is just Kansan who needs to close out the round. Wildcard, after dropping a 4-2 deficit at the half, have tied things up at 4.
And again, a round where Soniqs, I mean, it looked like they did have it that time, and then things fall apart in the execute. It was going so well until Grixer with the Candelas, and then the push. The whole thing was a little bit mistimed. There was a little bit of a coordination issue there, not just with him alone. I mean, he detonated the Candelas and then he dropped in. That makes sense, but he didn't have any support. The rest of the attack, the rest of the execute, it came in about 5 seconds after he had died. There was no one immediately there to play his trade. Sure, 5 seconds is close enough, you could argue, but when you're down to the final 10 seconds, when it's your execute phase, you gotta be snappier. You gotta be right on top of it. And, you know, Soniqs, they were just a half a step too slow, and I think they've recognized that. You take the tack time out, you try to find that speed again, you try to find that coordination again, because they have yet to get things going since they've been on attack.
Well, the good news is here for the Soniqs, if you can scrabble together an attacking round win here on the CEO bomb site that Wildcard are going to go to. They elect to take it as the tertiary. You have the opportunity to at least force an overtime with mirrored 4-2 halves. You get the basement and open area as being the primary and secondaries for both of these teams. Really, CEO defense was successful for the Soniqs as well when they were on their defensive half. So Wildcard maybe having a slight edge here in terms of the objectives that are open to them. But right now for the Soniqs, you're just trying to find traction of any kind, because that is 3 consecutive rounds. The last round of the first half and the last 2 defensive rounds back-to-back now for Wildcard. Really back into this game. It was the Soniqs dominating the kill feed. It was the Soniqs dominating the time control. And it was the Soniqs dominating the scoreline. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, 3 rounds have transpired and 3 rounds have gone to the side of Wildcard, pulling us back even. Now with Wildcard trying to go for a clean sweep of defensive objectives, go 3 in a row and go back downstairs, could put the Soniqs on their heels in the second half.
And they're already on their heels now, it feels like. You lose 2 rounds in a row, that one especially, where you really looked like you had it. You take the tack timeout. Can't really argue that the momentum is anywhere else other than firmly in the hands of Wildcard right now. I mean, we mentioned Bosco earlier. He's still performing well, but overall, even contributions across the board for Wildcard, and frankly, the same for Soniqs. Nobody is really struggling too much. Grixer coming back in, seeing him in, I suppose, not his debut, but his re-debut, his reappearance on this team since being swapped back onto the roster, playing that more supportive role, not, getting kills as much, but we've still seen plenty of moments where he has contributed. He has done quite a bit. And, well, for the Soniqs, if they want to start getting some of these attacking rounds, those contributions are going to have to come from just about everybody. Here in round number 9, they are bringing 2 sources of hard breach. I mentioned Grixer playing a little bit of that supportive role. Same goes for Adam here, and we're already seeing those X-Kairos pellets go down, or at least attempt to open up that wall into the top long hall. Well, had a little bit of denial, and, well, I think a well-placed EMP from the Thatcher of Rexen will open up that angle for them to work with.
Yeah, we've seen that lineup a few times with a little ledge you're going to land an EMP on. Certainly not the simplest of tosses, so well executed there from Rexen and Adam to be able to facilitate the E3 opening top the elevator and the spiral stairs breach. Now Merc on this rappel. A couple drones in. They are being quelled by some mute jammers every now and again. And Bosco with a pocket mirror window. This seems to be the alteration from Wildcard that the Soniqs were not employing. The pocket mirror window for the second time on the janitor wall will just instigate Merc to pull out the range launcher once again. And now they are both shattered. Still bulletproof for the time being. So Bosco still has 2 reinforcements with no holes in them as of yet that he can play in and man this janitor position, much like we saw from Merc and much like we saw from Grixer on their defensive sides for the Soniqs. But here come the Selmas, and now Grixer just gonna have to go and rappel in and try and brute force this plan.
Okay, that did not work initially. Kansan immediately domes him. A quick answer, though, from Andy, and this one is still in play here. Kansan, he's all the way back here by the conference table, and that's where he secured that initial kill from. The actual more forward part of this defense is Bosco. Looked like he got the kill. Instead, Kansan is credited with it. Vertical will get one, and even though Bosco is holding arguably the best position right now, everyone else is just yoinking these kills from him. Rexen from the other side, though he lines up 2, but 5 seconds. Sonic have waited far too long to actually push it and make the move. Adam, triple zeros, diffuser going down, Spiker, C4, see ya. Round number 9 goes to Wildcard. That's 3 in a row.
Man, a valiant attempt there from Rexen. Pulling the Soniqs back into that round. Man, it was close. If that positioning for Wildcard hadn't been so picture perfect in terms of the nitrocell being ready to be ripped downstairs as soon as that plant was going down into the overtime, I think Rexen could have locked off the defender trying to retreat from stock. It would have been a heads-up gunfight that Rexen would have had to win, but he demonstrated about 5 seconds prior that he could win some pretty chaotic heads-up gunfights of his own. But in the end, Spiker's downstairs. Spiker has a nitro cell. There's no time left on the clock. A Wildcard, they pick up their 4th round in a row, their 3rd consecutive defense, which will now afford them, like I said, ability to go back downstairs and try and go on a serious run on the defensive side to lock this thing out and win their own map pick of Bank. Should be noted again, this is Wildcard's map pick. This is a map that the desk talked about Wildcard loving to play, having frequented it many times throughout the group stage, and having a smaller map pool, and Clubhouse really not being in that wheelhouse, at least not demonstrated on camera by Wildcard thus far. So there's still plenty of opportunity for both of these teams to come to life. I think the recent run of form, though, for Wildcard is maybe leaning the Soniqs to be thinking about map 2. Still a one-round game.
I suppose if you handed anybody the score at the end of this, if it goes 7-4, 7-5, if Wildcard are able to take it, no one would be that surprised just looking at it on paper. It's Wildcard's map pick, same or similar scoreline as before, but the way that it has transpired is wildly different. Soniqs, they are the ones who have the early lead. In addition, defender-sided Bank coming at you. Last time we saw it heavily attacker-sided in NA over the, 7 times we've seen this map played. It's gone just about 55-45 favoring that attacking side. So for it to be so heavily defender-sided right now, I guess not that heavily defender-sided, 4-2 each way, it seems. I mean, right now, Wildcard are just having their way with it and are more than happy to take advantage of all this success on the defensive side. Merc, he goes down first. Rexon nearly loses his life there. The saving grace there for the Soniqs is Ambi, as usual, doing some kind of a clutch move. He takes care of vertical, so the vigil will not be a problem here. But approaching this site alone just might. Ambi's got to be careful. He is all alone and just about on the A objective at this point.
Yeah, Ambi's alone inside a server. Adam's at the top of the server stairs looking to join him. Grixer carrying the diffuser will join him through dirt. So now we're amassing a lot of utility and personnel towards the server stairs and the server side itself on the take. That's most likely because Rexon has made his way into the garage with the Yosa shield. Now, the impact did come flying out from a defender on the bomb site, trying to challenge down that garage ramp, but instead of aiming for the Yosa shield itself, that just direct impacted Rexon in the face. Now Adam is holding for the flank because Merc had face checked in through ATMs where Spiker had played the last time they defended this bomb site. Spiker won that first engagement. He's been basically held in place ever since. So it'll be Adam's job to hold the flank and make sure that the rest of the attacking contingent can push their way into the bomb site and try and facilitate and execute. Still, again, only one nitro cell on the side of Kansan for Wildcard, trying to deny the plant. Adam moves off of his position, I guess, just to bring some bees down. They are going to have to be worried about the flank, though, because the server hatch is soft as well, and Spiker can open that up.
Yeah, still 2 defenders up top. One of those is Rampy. He's got a beat on this. Spiker, he's ready. He could always drop down or go for the flank, as you said. Adam is aware of the possibility of a flank, so he's looking to hunt for something up top. While he's doing that, the rest of the team, they're actually making the push. Grixer will start it off. He gets the kill, now goes for the defuse. Great coverage from Ampy, denies the utility that Wildcard trying to throw their way. With 5 seconds left, they get the diffuser down, but it's Spiker who steps up. He is back in the site all of a sudden. He comes back downstairs and gets a pretty pivotal kill. But it's a 3v3 and the diffuser is down. It is a retake for Wildcard and they have to move quick. Kansan up top needs to find a kill here and he can't. Good coverage from Adam. Spiker's got to pull off something crazy and he's got the shotgun out. You're not winning that. It's just Bosco. No time left. And Ambi, an excellent round from him. As Soniqs, they take their time in the mid-round, but they do not wait until the last possible moment. They execute on time, they do it potently, and they take a win.
Well, it was a run of form that seemed unstoppable for the side of Wildcard, and to be honest, Spiker came within milliseconds of stopping that plant in its tracks. But at the end of the day, the Soniqs, they play the plant, they play the post plant, and they deny the retake in towards server, and they come away with a victory of their own. We have a short technical pause as well here. So, much like we saw in map number 1 of our first series between Oxygen and Space Station Academy, moment for both of these teams to breathe. Moment for them to both mentally reset. It's quite the run that Wildcard were on, but the Soniqs now putting an end to that, gathering a little bit of momentum and making that. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It was indeed a short break, but nonetheless, we stand at a 5-5 scoreline. And like I was pondering about while we were trying to fill some time there, we have a change of location for Wildcard on the defense. Instead of opting to run it back downstairs, they have elected to go to open area where they are 1-for-1 on this bomb site in terms of the defense. Now, slight changes to the operators. We did see Bosco last time around on the Maestro. We saw that Alda being instrumental into securing the round win the last time around on this defense. And here we've got him on the Mira upstairs playing this janitor position. Very similar to what we would see coming out of a CEO defense, but instead, it's a hard hold topside for Wildcard. Try and lock things down and make sure they can maintain top control for as long as possible. Also, very similar to what we saw out of the Soniqs, but all of a sudden, a Rotero drone detonates onto the kitchen door frame and carrying the Osa shield. He blocks some bullets and Rexing gets down as the rush into the bomb site is being rejected at the gates. Adam on 50 HP trying to propel further and recover that diffuser. Ambi will at least trade one out as Bosco takes damage off screen upstairs. With the top hold here, this is very problematic for Wildcard's defense as they've lost their positioning on the kitchen double door. Adam dropped down to about 20 HP. Merc, though, collects the kill onto Rampy, and another Rotero is needed in response. As the comeback now, the diffuser once again is lost in peril in the middle of the bomb site. But the Soniqs attackers, their rifles are firing, they're finding their marks, and they are doing well to survive the onslaught.
Wow. Talk about an early move from the Soniqs, but Wildcard survive it. Soniqs only, excuse me. Soniqs only losing one body though. Pretty good place to be. Usually when you go for something like that and it fails, you're kind of left in shambles. Don't have much to do. In this case, Soniqs survive it, and once again they have the advantage. A 3v2. Bosco, he hits the floor. He goes down. Spiker and Vertical. Well, now just Vertical will have to pick up the pieces.
Swing as he rotates through the small office. Vert gets one, but Adam using that Rotero drone does clean the kill onto Bosco. So it's a 1v2 now for Vert in the depths of the small office. Either secure or suffer match point against. Still, as he's being hunted from the opposite side of the soft wall. Grixer with the pre-fire. The drone coming out will spot Vertical in the position. The Rima dash in the middle of the small office, but he's got nowhere to go. The soft walls all around him. They're perfect targets for these assault rifles to rattle bullets through. Trying to pop the hatch, and he'll dip and dive to safety as he falls out of the bomb site. That will allow SQ to hold it. Now being blinded as Adam resecures the diffuser. Gets in through the printer hallway. Starts initiating the plant, and that is going to force Vertical to get back into the action. Trying to return through the double doorway. He's got no clue of the positioning. A flashbang comes out and Grixer hits the shot. The Soniqs, they botch the rush attempt, but they scramble, they survive, and they salvage the round, still able to initiate the plant, and they will put themselves on a match point.
I cannot believe they pulled that off there. And first of all, Flynn, thanks for picking me up there. Had a frog in my throat is, I guess Soniqs just stunned me into submission over here, because it is so rare that a team is able to go for a rush, completely hit the reset button, and then come out with the win. Sure, it came down to the wire there in the end. Wildcard put up a heck of a fight down that 4v3 situation, but Soniqs, talk about adapting on the fly. No better example of it than just that. You go in, you have one very concrete plan. You go crazy, you rush, you get in the building fast, and when it doesn't work, you're okay stepping back, slowing down, and resetting. Very few teams have the ability to do that. Normally, it's either all or nothing. If you go for it all and you push hard, typically those final few players, even if it doesn't go well, they're just gonna, all right, jump in, send it, go for the kills, make something happen. Not in this case. Love that discipline. And just like that, even after all of the praise we gave Wildcard for their defensive success, Soniqs, they have a chance to close this map out.
It really was a meteoric run there for Wildcard. Get them back into the game after being down 4-1, but the response from the Soniqs here, they've elevated their game. They've elevated their tempo a little bit on the attacking side too, trying to instigate some executes a little before the clock hits 20 and the clock strikes midnight on their ability to win. And now for Wildcard, going back downstairs to CCTV, you're unsuccessful on this once. You were successful on it once as well. Opting to go upstairs, and right now for the basement defense, again, a small alteration to the operator lineup. We're bringing the Maestro back, or we're bringing it downstairs in tandem with the Goyo. So again, lots of time wasting and lots of bulletproof utility that will need to be cleared by the Soniqs. Rexon had some success making his way in on the Osa to Garage the previous time they attacked this bomb site, and he'll look to replicate that success now. Narrowly being spotted by the bulletproof camera, deployed at the base of the ramp, and now with that Osa shield down, he's in a strong position to have a war without bullets being exchanged here. Information battle going back and forth between him and Ramp.
Yeah, Rexon knows what's going on, so does Rampy. They both know each other are there. Rexon is going to try to take as much space as he can. Only time he's really in danger is when he's actually on the move. The shield not perfectly covering every single inch of your body, but when it's down, those Talon shields, a very nice thing to have in front of you. Now, still vulnerable to those impacts, to those nitro cells that could be sent their way, but you take a look at the left side of your screen, no impact grenades, Rampy with barbed wire, and those C4s, you're not going to see them devoted to something like that at this point in the round. Instead, those are going to be kept in pocket for Wildcard. They know the importance of keeping those utility all the way until the execute phase of this round when Soniqs, as it appears, want to make their move towards that CCTV side. You see Ambi, he was very successful and pivotal last time they attacked this site in opening things up with a kill, moving in and establishing that control. It'll be Rexon this time who starts things off with a kill onto Bosco.
Yeah, they're able to clean Rexon out of his position after the fact, and they're able to revive Ramp. He was down in the fray as well. That garage position, it's forfeited, and now it's Merc pushing down the main stairs towards the basement to try and refill the power. That position will hold. The diffuser changing hands as now Grixer will pick up the case, try to venture into the bomb site with the assist from the pings of the bees. Still got mirror windows and Goyo canisters that had not been detonated from the hatches previously. Here come the Candelas in response as the Soniqs are going to have to shift the approach with so much fire smothering the floor of the bomb site. The plant will not be safe inside of CCTV. Here come the Candelas waiting for the drop as vertical, turning his attention away momentarily. The Kanza gets the first one in the middle of the bomb site. Everyone is in the middle of a wall that is Swiss cheese. Vertical shuts the entry down. Rampy tags in after being revived from the grave, and Wildcard, they will force us to overtime.
And honestly, wouldn't have it any other way. Just how close and back and forth this bank has been. Gotta see this one go the distance. We need more than 12 to close this one out. We're gonna go all the way, well, potentially to 15 if these two teams just continue this back and forth streak. I mean, it was so one-sided affair at the start of the game. It was Soniqs who were on a run. It was Wildcard who then bounced back, went on a run of their own, and now it's just been trading blows left and right. We saw a pretty good tack timeout from Soniqs. They come out of that timeout with some speed, with some momentum. They get back on their horse on the attacking side, and, well, Wildcard fixing that on the basement defense. And luckily for them, that is where they will get to remain. Wildcard, defense, and Soniqs attack for OT, which means that Wildcard can head back to the same bomb site and do the same thing again.
Now, sacrificing that position inside of Garage, Rexon goes 1-for-1 with a down in the engagement there inside of Garage with the Osa. It was still a decent position to be in. He caused enough disruption for a lot of the defense, making sure they couldn't play on that mirror window inside of the locker's hallway as well for a time. The real problem there is there's just Goyo canisters still up, still remaining. It's a challenging situation for the Soniqs attackers to be in because they're just trying to walk into a bomb site that is quite literally on fire. There's nowhere safe to enter. There's nowhere safe to stand and remain. Skeleton Key comes out from Rexon as he takes aim for the first gunfight up against Spiker through the soft wall of the printer window. And now Spiker, able to walk away on 100 HP, is going to retreat back towards the bomb site. Bosco will refill the position on the blue stairs. Seems like we also have Rampy tagging in. And he's going to remain, actually. I thought he was going to drop back down. The hatch is open for him to do that. And there it is. The second time around of asking from the drone. Rampy will drop. The first floor is evacuated from Wildcard. Now the Soniqs have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to try and facilitate a better execute than previously attempted.
On this second half, Wildcard have been so firmly in control of the entry kills. It's kind of insane. They've gotten 5 of 6 of those entry engagements since they switched to the defense. Now, as we saw, that didn't necessarily indicate who was going to win the round. Soniqs actually secured the final round opening kill, and it ended up not mattering so much. There was a quick trade. But here in OT, I mean, you know that both of these teams are hungry to get on the board first. knowing how important that was for Wildcard and their defensive success early on. Grixer, Rotero drone goes right into Bosco's face. The Vulcan canisters and the toxic smoke, though, will support this position. So even though it is known, Bosco will remain for now, putting a little bit more pressure on this staircase than we've seen him do in the past. Wildcard, we've seen them drop off of this position fairly quickly. This time, he's going to hold it with the shotgun until they lose vertical. Now that Rampy answers back, you see Bosco still bouncing back and forth. Rexon approaching from below, while someone, that's Ambi, approaching from the other side. A perfect pinch, and Bosco with nowhere to go is Soniqs' next victim.
Changing up the execute, changing up the operators required to push up the main stairs. Spiker will fall, but Rampy will have his trade. It's a 2v3 now, but no nitro cells, both expended from Kansan and Rampy. So this is a gunfight, and they'll be in a 2v2 with someone putting down the diffuser and some guns that'll be active at that moment. The plant attempting to come out, the yellow ping's coming. Ambi putting the plant down, and nobody here for Wildcard with a response. Rampy will go topside up the main stairs. The sprays from Kansan. He'll hit the headshot. Rampy with another one. Suddenly the retake looking much more viable, but Ambi, I think he has more health than both remaining defenders combined, and he's got asphyxiating bolts in the Capitao. Should he be in a position to stall out the clock on the diffuser with them? Peeking around the bomb chassis. Kansan tries to go for the one tap. Misses the headshot, and now Ambi will ascend the blue stairs, trying to hold off from the flank of Rampy. He's on 1 HP. A beautiful quick shot there from Ambi, and now he just has to play the time from above the hatch. It's all Kansan trying to push up the blue stairs, trying to initiate the engagement, but the timer will hit 0 no matter who comes away victorious from the fight. It does end up being Kansan, but there is no time remaining. The Soniqs will secure the first round of overtime.
Ambi doing what he needed to pull that one out, and oh my goodness. As always, these two teams are giving us a show. The retake there, forcing Ambi to hit that shot on the player coming in up top. That was, I mean, yeah, if he doesn't hit that, it's a very different story. Rampy was hunting for that kill above. He goes on that flank. He tries to make it happen. You got to give it up to Rampy for even allowing it to get that close. He had the deagle in hand, body shots against Adam, and he ends up winning the fight. But it is Ambi in the end on the Capitao. Great discipline to avoid taking that gunfight until the final 7 seconds. He knows that even if he goes down, which is what ended up happening, there's no time for the defense to hop on that diffuser and get the counter defused. So Soniqs, despite a rocky attacking half, I mean, come on, it's overtime. Of course we see that change. Finally, Soniqs figure it out in the basement. They make it work. Now they have map point.
Map point, back in the favor of the Soniqs, up 7-6, changing sides, their first defensive round in a while. And they'll be going CEO on the defense, a bomb site that seemed to purely confound Wildcard in terms of their ability to attack this site, resorting just to flying in a window in the cover of smoke and praying for the cover to be good enough to facilitate the plant. And it surely was not good enough the last time they attacked. There's no glass coming out on the side of vertical this time around. So for Wildcard to attack it, they will have to come up with a new attacking strategy. The mirror window is still present from Rexon, so this setup that we've seen inside a Janitor with a double reinforcement in the mirror window. And Rexon also parroting a little bit from what we saw from Wildcard as well in the defense, as that pocket mirror. So he could have the opportunity to, even with the first one being shattered in this position, place down a second one later on in the round to potentially cause a spanner for Wildcard to deal with later on. Securing this one requires securing the clock, and they've at least secured 50 seconds, especially with this impact trick coming out onto the stock wall.
Bosco just trying to get this open. Another Selma goes down. It will detonate successfully this time. Adam has no more impacts. The only set of impacts on Soniqs defense expended. Merc and Rexon each wielding a C4, but Merc just sending that one skyward and using that utility already. So it will just be Rexon with that in pocket. In addition to the mirror window that you mentioned, Flynn, he will now deploy that over in Janitor. Again, this other window facing the CEO repel. That'll be the next objective for Wildcard to destroy. But as we have said, and it's easier said than done, Kansan no longer has any breaching rounds, as he's already used both. That's why those pocket mirrors actually not a bad strategy in this day and age when the Ash can prove to be such a lethal weapon when dealing with that utility.
And this could be lights out for Wildcard. They've got no more Ash chargers. They've got no more Selmas either. Bosco being used up on his Selmas from those impact tricking onto the stock wall. Twitch is banned. There really isn't a choice here unless you can get underneath and try to shoot up through the soft floor to pop that mirror canister. That thing is going to stay in place. And you've also got no smoke grenades to confound the vision of that mirror window. So majority of the CEO site itself is going to be within perfect purview of this janitor closet. And now Bosco approaching with the diffuser right up against that janitor wall. The left side has been breached open by a Rotero drone, but Mark, he gets the opening pick.
Okay, Bosco. Oh, from behind, it's Rexon. He had no idea it was coming. Rexon follows it up with a Nitro Cell. Soniqs 2 kills away from stealing Wildcard's map pick right out of their hands. Spiker and Kansan, it's left up to them. They have 15 seconds left and the fuser needs to be recovered. The long range shot here from Kansan. He's gonna have to hit one, because if he doesn't, I mean, with 5 seconds left, what are you gonna do? Merc collects Kansan, and now it is Spiker against the world, out of time and nowhere to go. Soniqs finally close it out on Bank. Redemption after their earlier loss to Wildcard on this map. And they do it when it matters even more. First round here of this LCQ, first map of this series, it'll be Soniqs who take the win.
Beautiful response there from the Soniqs. Didn't get dissuaded, didn't get discouraged by that run back there from Wildcard, because it did look like it was the Soniqs in control on the defensive side of Bank to start this map. Then all of a sudden enters Wildcard and they go on a run. We force all the way to overtime, our first overtime map of the last chance qualifier. The Soniqs, they walk away victorious. Like you said, on Wildcard's map pick, they now get to turn their attention towards Clubhouse, which is their map pick.
Yeah, Clubhouse, Soniqs, with a win under their belt, hoping to close this one out in 2. We'll break down map 1 and preview map 2 with our desk in just a minute. Be right back as we head to map 2.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I mean, Jesse, we're definitely going the distance in this series, or at least on the first map, taking it to overtime at Soniqs in the end to take the win. We're in for a long haul for that one.
We really are. I mean, this map obviously going so back and forth. Soniqs just edging it out to take Wildcard's map pick, a massive W for them. And I came into this one saying I'm not sold on Soniqs defense yet. I wanted to see how they played, and I'm impressed. It looks like their defenses are really starting to look a lot better than the last time they played Bank against Wildcard. If you'll remember, that was a stomp for Wildcard. 5-1 attacking half. The last time they attacked against the Soniqs, this time they come through. They only get 2 measly rounds on their own half. So really good from Soniqs to shape up on that defense. They have maybe their own attacking problems for sure, and they definitely didn't close this one out easily, but in the end, it's a much better Soniqs team than what we saw last time when they played against Wildcard, which is great.
Yeah, and you look at both teams' attacks here, very sloppy, not the best attacks that they could possibly want. But one thing I wanted, well, not one thing, 2 things I want to give both teams praise for is playing on that 3rd floor, that CEO, playing inside Janitor. Both teams played that so well. And had they just lost a single gunfight in any one of those situations, we could have possibly seen those attacking halves then favor a little more until those attacking sides. But again, I just want to talk about both these teams played Janitor beautifully throughout these CEO rounds.
100%, and like that's just one of those places too. You can have such a big impact on these maps. So both teams just kind of having that importance, sticking to it, Jesse. I mean, I like that we got to see good things coming out from both teams, but especially the cleanup from Soniqs, I think is just massively important, even just going on forward in the series.
Yeah, and I think for Soniqs, I mean, this is probably a big confidence win for them as well. The first time they're bringing this specific lineup. It's not the first time they played with Grixer by any means. And I know stats-wise, Grixer wasn't like the top performer on Soniqs or anything, but I think he played his role as well. I don't think he was a massive liability or anything throughout this game. If it's going to take him a couple games like shaping up and maybe shake some of the rust off, that's not a problem, right? The team looked like a more cohesive unit, especially on defense. It felt like they were much more in control of how they wanted to hold certain bomb sites, roaming as a unit. I even remember that one time they were roaming up on the top floor, and we saw Grixer kind of laying down inside of long desk. And you know what? It worked out because they was working with the rest of his teammates. He had other roamers up with him on the top floor, and they stalled out that time. They got their kills. So it's nice to see the team kind of working together already after such a short period of time.
Yeah, it was such an impactful change heading into the last chance qualifier where just one best of 3 going wrong. Well, you're kind of done for a major. Being able to see Grixer just kind of slot in, and you know, it's the first map, so once we get on further going on, I'm excited to see a little bit more coming out. I want to talk about Wildcard a little bit too in here, Laxate. I mean, this did go into that overtime. Wildcard was definitely a team that going into this, I was curious about what form we'd get from them today.
Well, yeah, and you look across the board. I mean, look at Wildcard. Look at the stats on the entire team. This was a group effort, and just talking about cohesion, this was a team that showed up today, and we specifically were highlighting Kansan in the beginning of this, that Kansan was their forefront for this team and setting them up for success, and we needed to see that today. And sure, they did lose a 6-8. It was a close game overall, but everyone is firing on all cylinders, and like that's the best case scenario. When you lose a game, you're losing just because the team maybe played a position better or they played the round better, but it's nothing to slight at. It's nothing to look at as, you know, this team isn't finding success, because now you're going into map 2 and both teams are playing extremely well. But again, when you look at Wildcard's stats all across the board, everyone is playing extremely well, and that's the best case scenario that you can going into this next map and just wiping off that first game.
Yeah, and when we saw the stats there, we saw Spiker sitting at the bottom of the scoreboard for Wildcard. Definitely not going to put it all on him, but he was the top performer the last time that Wildcard and Soniqs played against one another. And the last time they played, that was on Bank, obviously, and Soniqs banned the Dokkaebi. This time they came through and Wildcard banned the Dokkaebi. That's usually been Spiker's operator. That's the operator he likes to play. I'm surprised they wanted to take that away from him, obviously take it away from the other new team as well. He was playing some other operators like Habana, and obviously he thrived on that operator, or without that operator, the last time they played Soniqs. But it was certainly unfortunate to see him doing so poorly, and I was definitely surprised by that ban coming through from Wildcard. Clearly trying to play some kind of mind games on Soniqs, or just figuring that it went so well last time without the HIB, they don't need it the second time around either. I wouldn't blame their entire struggles on this by any stretch of imagination, but it was one of those kind of aspects of this game that made me scratch my head a little bit, and I don't think it really turned out the way Wildcard wanted it to.
Well, especially now, we have to be looking at Wildcard and going on forward in the series, because losing their map pick going on forward and now having to take it to Clubhouse, Soniqs map pick in this. I mean, Lax, you were talking about the map pool struggles that Wildcard has, and especially for Wildcard, I feel like losing the map pick is just immeasurable.
Well, the nice thing about this situation for Wildcard, at least, is they are all firing on all cylinders. They are all showing up today, so that's strong going into this map. But you have VODs of how Soniqs has played on this map, where Soniqs doesn't have that prep for you entirely. So that already is going to put you in an advantage here. But you're also going against Soniqs that have been notoriously good at Clubhouse throughout their history, throughout me playing against them. That's a map that I necessarily wouldn't want to play them on. So you still got to feel good with Soniqs as well going into that. This is a map that you're comfortable with. You have the leg up on you have the 1-0 right now, so it's a lot less pressure on you. But still, again, for Wildcard, they performed well on Bank. It didn't go didn't go in their favor or how they wanted to. But I think this map could still be a close one. But again, it's figuring out those gaps and those crucial gunfights that we're really going to have to be watching out for. That's really going to determine these maps.
I mean, how close do we think it's going to be? Because before we head into it, of course, I got to hear the map scores coming out from each of you. I always put Lax in hot seat first, so you can have a moment to relax. Jesse, it's your turn to answer first.
Fair enough. I think for Wildcard coming through, this is obviously a very good Soniqs map. They're 2-0 on the map so far this stage, beating both Dark Zero and Luminosity. I know that was earlier on in the stage. Soniqs are a bit of a different team now, but I still think they should walk away with it. I think it'll be a close game. I'm going to say 7-5. I think we're going to see some good defenses from Wildcard down in the basement, maybe top floor, but I do think Soniqs will clean this up in 2.
Okay. Quick, Lax, score?
I chose Wildcard plenty of times throughout my predictions, but I just have to stick with Soniqs here just solely. I've experienced SQ too many times on Clubhouse and watched their Clubhouse that I just feel that this is just a solid pick for SQ overall.
Betrayal at the last moment here, but of course we have to get into the game and figure out what Flynn and Jonah have to say about that.
Thank you, Sierra. Well, they were pretty close on the predictions last time, Flynn. I think they were Laxing was 1 round off, Jesse was 2 rounds off. It's typical for Jesse. Laxing, though, he's got it handled. This time, you think they got this one locked down, or Wildcard going to send us a 3?
I'm going to be honest. I agree with Lax. Historically, this is a strong map for the Soniqs. It's their map pick. I mean, the Soniqs as well. They weathered the storm. You know, things were looking very well in control for the first portion of the first half. Wildcard end the first half and start to go on a bit of a run in the second half, but it was a good response from the Soniqs. And like Jesse said, you know, defensive woes have really been the Achilles heel for the Soniqs roster to the group stage, and those don't seem to exist as well. Lax also touching on the attacks probably not being optimal for either side, but heading into a map like Clubhouse where there isn't really a whole lot left to be done in terms of innovation either. It is just notoriously the play style. It feeds into the way the Soniqs want to play this game. Grixer loves this map. The Soniqs love this map. It's going to be an uphill battle for Wildcard to pull out.
And I think for the most part, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think the part of me that is like competitive series wants to see that overtime game, that map 3, right? That part of me is saying, well, come on. I mean, of course Wildcard pulled this out. Sonic stole their pick. They're going to come back with a vengeance. But yes, I will stay and keep my opinions at least as formed in reality as possible. And that reality is kind of what the social prediction has to say, that Soniqs do hold the edge here, even if it is only just slight. They may be coming in as the 5 seed, but after a nice win on Bank, close win on Bank, but a win nonetheless, they now look to Clubhouse to do the very same thing on their own map. So we'll get into the operator bans here and see what kind of map we've got in store for us. As we know, Clubhouse is a map that can be extremely hard breached focused and often has operator bans that go along that route. Sometimes we see the Thatcher, the Habana, we see maybe the Thermite, maybe the Ace. In this case, those attacker bans look a little different though. It is the Ying and the Capitao taken off the board instead. That means for Soniqs, as they start out on the attack, Flynn, the world is their oyster in terms of hard breach.
Definitely. We lose the Azami, so as touched upon many a time on a Clubhouse map where an Azami gets banned, going to make a Rafters position a little more difficult for a potential CCTV defense, may even instigate the use of Bar as a defensive safe haven. But for Wildcard starting on the defense as well, they won't have access to the Azami nor the Mira. For the attacking side of the Soniqs, the Ying and the Capitao taking out of play two execute-centric operators that we saw a lot of from both sides on Bank. And I think right now for Wildcard, the focus is again trying to add some stability. We've seen the momentum they've been able to gather when they start getting hot, but this is backs against the wall time. Again, just to reiterate for anyone who isn't familiar with the format, this is lights out. If Wildcard do not come away with this map win, their stage is over. There is no losers bracket. This is just single elim, best of 3s. You win and you continue on until we have only one left standing for that final spot in Manchester. And if you lose, you're staring down the barrel of a lengthy offseason and looking towards the summer and potentially even the fall for the next time you have the opportunity to rectify mistakes made. Right now for Wildcard, we are employing quite a hefty roam, even though the basement is the objective of choice.
And they had a hefty roam selection, and I saw the operator lineup for Soniqs, and I was terrified for a moment that that defense was just going to get, well, ignored. You had the Monty, we saw the Glaz in play. That reads basement rush if there is a big roam from Wildcard. A big pivot, though, from Soniqs. They are no longer going that route. The Monty, the Glaz are both gone. Instead, you've got Ambi on the Ace. Grixer's bringing back the Thermite. So this lineup, a little bit more traditional, and it does appear that they will be going for that full roam clear. That'll be the first step. It's Clubhouse. Both of these teams have done this thousands of times. However, Wildcard, as we've seen on the defense, and we saw on Bank, put in the right spot, someone like Spiker, someone like Kansan, they can thrive. So Soniqs just need to make sure that as they begin to enter here, they have as much information as possible before eventually making the move. Easier said than done, though, because Rampy, you've got those mute jammers, he got the first kill. That information game will be hard to establish. As Adam drops in, though, he will get the trade. 1 HP to his name, but an even man count.
Oh, and Ambi, just with some unfortunate timing there, does not catch the retreat down red stairs coming out from Kansan on that Solus. Was impact tricking the platform breach, and instead, Wildcard, they're all going to evacuate back to the bomb site, barring Spiker until he does drop. He hears that logic bomb from the Dokkaebi, who's allowed back into play that Jesse touched on. And you hear his phone ringing and decide, you know what? Let's just reconsolidate back on the bomb site, group up as a 4v4. You got Adam down to like 3 HP at best, so you're in a good spot in terms of health pool. you don't really have the explosives you would want. You've got 3 impacts, though, and a nitro cell, but not a stacking of nitro cells to be able to deny any plant attempts or walk-through attempts in the depths of Arsenal. Really going to come down to those smoke grenades coming out once again from Bosco as he gets back onto his very familiar operator of choice. And for the Soniqs now, it's about ascertaining the positions of these anchors and doing what you can with what you have left. A lot of utility expended to facilitate the roam clear. Going 1 for 1 is still decent for the Soniqs, but the attention now turns to the bomb site and what they can do to make these anchors' lives hell.
Well, you got to imagine that Adam, his job for the rest of this map, other than, or at least round, excuse me, other than helping to get this wall open, it's going to be to just provide the coverage. He cannot touch the toxic smoke from Bosco. If he does, he goes down, and that's a body down for the Soniqs. He needs to stay safe. You'd think that means kitchen hatch, staying up top, watching safely, but instead, Soniqs are going for this church push. That means Adam's got to stay a little bit more involved than he might like. Ambi goes for 1 and Grixer the other. Rampy gets the trade though, so Soniqs only ahead by 1, now ahead by 2 as Adam gets the kill. Cans in from behind though, shuts Grixer down, and now has a chance here. Again, Adam is 1 HP, an impact long range, it's perfect. Now it's the 1v1. Ambi got the diffuser down, but now he's got to finish the job. Cans in, he looks the wrong way! Ambi, no! Adam is downed, the round is over. As Kansan realizes that, and eventually lands the shot, or in this case, the knife, that'll be a wild card round.
Man, Kansan nearly got caught out there. It looked like he was deep inside of Oil Pit, potentially even going for a flank in the dying moments of that round, and barring any issues, cleaning up what was left of Adam at the base of the main stairway. It is a good recovery there as the double stack onto the Moto door paid dividends for the Soniqs. They are able to brute force their way through church wall, through the Moto door, get into the bomb site, and acquire the kills necessary to overwhelm the defensive wildcard. Kansan on the return, though, catches Grixer right here on the reinforcement to blue, just slightly out of position. His backside narrowly exposed, but it is enough to chew through. And then Kansan wraps it up with the impact. He has the 1v1 against Ambi, and like you said, Jonah, Ambi turning his attention the wrong direction in the midst of that 1v1 in the post plant. Good recovery there for Kansan. Good recovery for Wildcard. Not the way you would envisage trying to replicate that success later on down the line, as a 1v3 clutch in a post plant, not the optimal situation to be in as a defender. But nonetheless, they don't ask how, they ask how many. And it's Wildcard up 1-0. Now changing their defensive focus upstairs to gym and bedroom as the secondary bomb site, and with the Azami ban in play, that is not exactly a shocking revelation.
Yeah, going up top here, you'll want to go to CCTV and cache, maybe, but only if you have those Kiva barriers to add and bolster that support on rafters, right? We talk so much about that position being vital to CCTV and cache defenses, and without that utility, you're much better off on the site that people seem to prefer nowadays anyway, gym and bedroom as your secondary site of choice. Soniqs bringing out Merc on the Amaru here, and also, in addition to getting him to the roof quickly, just getting this wall open quickly. Grixer will be responsible for holding this early angle established into construction. This is frequently an area where we do see an early kill. Grixer missing his chances. Vertical darts past. No way he can react in time to that. But it does mean that there is at least an opening for Soniqs to make a move and hold an angle if they so wish. They've also gotten this jacuzzi wall open extremely fast. Talk about early progress. This Soniqs team is flying.
Pushing straight into the bomb site, the shotgun in hand, the Supernova will down, and the SMG-11 comes out in tow. It's Spiker, who was at the base of the main stairs all the way down in the basement when this execute began. He's made his retreat halfway there, pulling out the Solar Scanner to spot the diffuser going down onto the concrete. So now the impact coming out to afford himself the angle, but the hot drop down the stage hatch, it will isolate him. There's no chance in the 1v5, and the Soniqs, they pick up the tempo, and they pick up their first attacking round.
I think picking up the tempo is an understatement. They moved in quick. It wasn't like an all-out rush, but they got the wall open. They said, all right, jacuzzi wall's open too. Let's go. There's nothing stopping us. No one's in the way. We can just work our way up the main stairs, sneak our way into Logi, sneak our way into gym from the other side. And there you go. You've got the round. I mean, we said gym and bedroom should be the go-to site for Wildcard in that case, but Soniqs saying that no, absolutely not. That is our round to take. So to CCTV and Cash we go after that site just got dismantled by the Soniqs.
You could even see it as well from the defensive positioning of Wildcard. There were, initially, before that solo con wall got opened up, 2 defenders positioned Cash side. There were reinforcements as well. They were playing for the heavy investment of the Cash side and the direct clear coming out from the Soniqs, and yet the Soniqs say, what if we just split con in half? I'm not sure if they knew about the Solus's position all the way down in the basement or not. They assume that as long as we have the cutoff on the rotation back, even though Vert did sprint past Grixer there at the end, or the beginning of the round before the execute, as long as we hold that cutoff, the return to the bomb site, we have an extreme man advantage in the objective itself. They flood the bomb site, like you said, with that Amaru coming up the main stairs. That is a Kobe and a half coming out from Grixer with Selma all the way onto the solo con wall that will now detonate from the depths of spawn. Well done there from Grixer. I think right now for the Soniqs, seeing CCTV and Cash come out in response to that rush, also not that shocking. It just also means that Garage could be a position of power they could target early on without those Kiba barricades that defenders have become accustomed to seeing. If they are going to play this objective, it's going to make life a little more difficult. Or it seems 2 defenders, now 1, there's a vault over the railing. We've got 1 blue silhouette still stacked in the rafters.
Rafters is part of it. This main platform wall is the other. And Rampy throwing a couple of bandit batteries down, but the Maverick on the other side of the wall will make it pretty much impossible for him to bandit trick. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to get some kind of involvement here, though, as he throws the C4 or tries to get a C4 out towards Merc. It'll detonate, Merc backs off. No harm, no foul. But that is a piece of utility that maybe Rampy wants back. Wall opened up now is a very clean Maverick trick coming in from Merc. And that means that, yes, it may have taken them a little longer than an exothermic would have, but they got the bandit batteries dealt with and they got the wall open. And Ambi, he's got a kill onto Vertical.
Yeah, he's got the entry. He's in the middle of bar and he's reading this rotation, but the crossfire as Kansas coming down the main stairs. There was a drop down the stage hatch. Rampy will be downed, but not finished off as of yet by the Soniqs. So still potentially a man advantage. That's Rexon who pushes his way into stock to collect the defender who had dropped the stage hatch, to grab the crossfire. Now Rexon taking shots from behind over towards Lounge, but he'll opt to clean the kill, and Adam actually with that Bailiff will clean things up onto Rampy and Spiker. He's trying to challenge from the back of the garage walls. Will also ascend the rafter stairs, get back into position. As Wildcard, they try to persevere through a man disadvantage here. The Soniqs, they get the main platform open with the Maverick, able to utilize the buck to remove what's left of the soft wall, and they completely change the focus now. The opposite side of the building, and the drone, it will isolate Kansan at the base of the blue stairs, and this is the perfect opportunity for the Soniqs once again, knowing that they have the man advantage on the objective.
Well, the thing is, Kansan can't really do much from downstairs. So right as you said, Flynn, they don't need to deal with him here. No utility to deny the plant from below. They can just go for this site. Kansan knows this too, but he'll come back to this site, try to help Bosco defend this. He'll get a kill. So will Bosco. But Merc, quick trade, means that this one comes down to Bosco, and he gets shot from behind. Rexon, he works his way into Cash, and another nice reaction from him as yet another round goes to Soniqs. So far, 2-1.
2-1, but I will say, if you're a Wildcard fan, you're starting to get a little nervous. This is 3 defensive objectives played, and I would argue Wildcard probably shouldn't have walked away with any of the rounds. They did get that 1v3 clutch downstairs from the Solus returning through Oil Pit. That's, again, not a replicable strategy you should put a whole lot of faith in being able to win you consecutive rounds. And for now, opening pick battle, it's not really going Wildcard's way. Map control battle, real estate away from the bomb site, it's not going Wildcard's way. Now they'll be afforded the opportunity to head back downstairs, the only bomb site in which they have ascertained a victory in this map number 2. But this is Soniqs' map pick for a reason. They are very adept at picking up the tempo on this map on the attack. And we're seeing that now, where a lot of Wildcard members are just getting caught out with nowhere to go. And even though they do have a teammate, there seems to be more members of the Soniqs available at the disposal to hunt down isolated defenders. And it's just making life very miserable for these Wildcard defenders who are away from the bomb site, always leading to the anchors being in a man disadvantage that they're trying to work out of. Now for Wildcard, the attempt to get back on the score sheet, tie things up, then you have to worry about your woes upstairs later on.
Now the focus remains in the basement. As like you said, they want to repeat the performance here in terms of the overall result, just maybe want to tidy it up a bit. As you said, Soniqs, they just about had this one. It required the clutch for Wildcard to pull it off. Soniqs, they've done very well clearing out any roamers, any defenders that might be isolated. Smartly, Wildcard have recognized that, and they're not going to put anyone away from the site right now. All 5 positioned down below. Compared to last time, a dramatic shift where we saw the Vigil, the Mute, just about everyone you could imagine positioned for that extension to hold map control, deny Soniqs from taking that space quickly. This time, Soniqs have been allowed to do that. Rexen and the Buck are already starting the work onto the floor above the site. Now, the stock hatch will open soon enough. The Tuberau Zoto canisters will delay that slightly, but again, very good pace here for the Soniqs. Wildcard are letting this happen though, so they're gonna have a little more utility when it comes to the eventual push, but this is a big change for them.
It's a meteoric change for Wildcard, completely changing the strategy, trying to turtle up towards the bomb site and play the utility later on in the round. Here come the EMPs, trying to facilitate the Moto hatch getting opened up. There goes the Zoto canister. We'll see if the EMP will remain long enough to activate the Kaid Claw once again to successfully trick onto the hatch. Another EMP comes out though, just for good measure, and that's the last Zoto canister also being deployed onto the hatch from vertical. So back and forth we go. Moto hatch seemingly being the point at which all conflicts revolve, and now the Soniqs have changed their attention entirely. They were focusing on Moto hatch for the majority of that portion of the round. Now everyone turning their attention towards kitchen. They have that hatch open, and now Mark pushing down dirt could afford the opportunity to go for a drop.
Yeah, the Moto hatch never opened, but that also means that Wildcard should know that there's no way Soniqs can approach from there. They can now look towards dirt, they can look towards kitchen, and Spiker, even though he's tucked in this corner, he's vulnerable, but he is aware that this push is coming. He's the Warden, so he can just hold through the flashes. He takes care of Ambi, no problem. Now it's gonna come down to the final few fights. Spiker's able to line up another, Rampy as well, and Merc, he's been trapped in dirt for the last 60 seconds, and that is where he will eventually expire. Wildcard and the Moto hatch. Sometimes it just comes down to one single reinforcement, one single piece of utility. You could argue that that is what it came down to here.
Yeah, the war for Moto hatch, the great war of 2024 over Moto hatch in that round. And it's a Wildcard victory on the round, and a much more decisive one at that, not requiring a clutch. Always in a good position in terms of man count and the utility as well. You still had smokes in the back pocket as well, and a nitro cell to be able to deny the flood into the bomb site that dropped from the kitchen hatch, completely thwarted by the Warden playing over towards the back of the AK rack. So very strong response there from Wildcard, changing up the ideology of their defense and going for more of a turtle onto the bomb site, affording the Soniqs of 2 floors of map control. Make sure they had to wade their way through a sea of utility onto the bomb site that they could not overcome. Ultimately, it's a 2-2 scoreline, but Wildcard, they won downstairs the first time around. It wasn't by conventional means, but they have not looked as competitive on these top 4 bomb sites. It's going to take most likely a similar shift in ideology for Wildcard to come away with these victories, because it's been the Soniqs establishing a man advantage early in the round, flooding the bomb site and making sure that those anchors who are playing at a disadvantage have no chance to pull the round back.
Yeah, if you're Soniqs, of course you're bummed about not winning that round. You want to win every single round you possibly can. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be too pressed about it. They've got 2 sites left that they've attacked successfully. Yes, maybe we'll see Bar come out here, but they should feel pretty good about this. They made good, swift progress on both of these sites last time. Did not have a problem getting those round wins. So it does come down to Wildcard being able to change that if they want to come out of this half even. Because if Soniqs can get the next 2, 4-2 split on the attack, that is a fantastic way to pivot into your defensive half. We've already seen and talked about how confident we expect Soniqs to be when they switch to that defensive side. Of course, tonight we've seen expectations kind of thrown out the window here and there, but the same idea can be said here. Clubhouse, Sonics seem to have this down. Wildcard need to win at least one of these next two defenses.
Merc, paranoid, albeit deservedly so, about explosives coming towards his wall. And there it is, at long last. The Nitrocell comes out, constantly baiting the torch up against the wall, trying to get Bosco to utilize that very valuable piece of utility. And he does so to no effect. Merc walks away at 100 HP. He also, that Nitrocell helps facilitate opening the wall, as Merc was only able to Mav trick it soft. The Nitrocell opens it up, and Ambi will start opening up this round. The pick onto the far side clear, while the Wildcard side went for a philosophical change, as have the Sonics. Instead of isolating Con, they're actually going to attempt the far side clear all the way across, leaving Merc isolated alone on the Jacuzzi balcony. And you've got explosives raining out as cash has been obtained by the Sonic side. Still got a lot of time to work with here to try and descend onto the bomb site. Deployable shield in the middle of the bed. That'll be easy pickings here for Rexen as a frag grenade goes out towards the bed frame. And now Rexen with shotgun in hand is going to open up more of that rotate into Logi to help facilitate the flood of Sonic's attackers all in towards logistics and master.
The Deathmark tracker out. More information at his hand, and he's going to come in and take care of Rampy just like that. Not even the player that was being tracked. That's Kansan. He falls quickly next. Bosco gets one back, but it's a 2 versus 4. Bosco's been isolated, trapped off the site. Same for Spiker. Metal stairs, done. He's been taken care of. It's just Bosco. No site control. He's got to retake this as a one-man army. Rexen successfully gets the diffuser down. Bosco in for a world of hurt when he swings this angle. Adam is low HP. He's got a chance on him, but not so much against Merc, who takes the fight and wins it. No problem. Sonics, as before, gym and bedroom seems fairly straightforward.
And it was the change. We saw this from Wildcard on their defense downstairs. We see this from the attack from the Sonics approaching gym and bedroom. Instead of just trying to isolate and go for a partial attacking hold of the far side, they actually entertain the entire cache and CCTV clear. They're very successful in doing so. They get that opening pick from Ambi. They're able to progress further through cache. And as soon as that rotation was fully opened up into logistics, it was lights out. Even the Fenrir mines could not obscure the vision enough of the Deimos pushing in. It really did start to snowball from there for Wildcard on the defense, where, again, you lose that man advantage. It's opening pick in the favor of the Sonics, the flood towards the bomb site, just a different methodology of getting to that similar point. And now for Wildcard, the opportunity to win the first half is foregone. The opportunity to tie the first half still exists. And honestly, between the 2 attempts at gym bedroom and the 1 attempt at CCTV and cache, I don't know which one, in my opinion, looks more positive for the side of Wildcard. They certainly believe that after 2 attempts at gym and bedroom, that CCTV and cache is their best opportunity to level the scoreline heading into the side swap.
Far is tough, man. I mean, it's one of those sites that you're always excited to see when you're casting a game, because it's one site that you just rarely see, but just so inconsistent defensively. Feels so easy for attacking teams to just kind of ignore your top floor setup and rush in. Sonics have proved that they're willing to do that, so I think it's reasonable that Wildcard don't want to go and take that risk. Sure, you can cover from the top floor, but you never know what you're going to get. When somebody comes rushing in like that, taking that space, you throw down some smokes. We know they're willing to play the glass. So instead, our focus remains here and shifts back to CCTV and cache, where Sonics were successful last time. They've been keeping this pace up so nicely here. A combination of really good EMP use, well-placed Maverick torch in a lot of cases. This time they're gonna do away with the Maverick. They had it last time on this site, and a very efficient Maverick trick helped them open that platform wall. Instead, it's Merc and Grixer, combined with Rexen's secondary hard breach charges that will serve as the hard breaching utility this time around. EMPs goes out. The Grixer will finally be able to get this con wall open, but a little later than they may have liked. And as that platform wall, as long as that remains shut, Wildcard should have a pretty good idea of what's coming.
Problematic there is also you won't be able to enter in through that, thanks to the impact trick gone onto the solo con wall. The last Selma will go out onto the wall. So now Rexen doing battle with the Frost inside of Jim, and he wins out against Kansan. The flank though from Rampy up the short hallway. A nice reaction to the prone Buck laying on the ground. It's a 2-piece for the MP7, and Vertical comes in for support. So now it's just Ambi and Grixer trying to ascend the master side stairs. Rampy is repositioned inside of Bar, debating opening up his hatch to fall off. Ambi and Grixer recover the diffuser. The Deimos Deathmark comes in, and Rampy cannot get out of his position, playing it for his life, playing it for the time. At the very least, he's done a lot of damage to this ace of Grixer. So now the attention paid back to the bomb site. Wildcard still in a man advantage, a health advantage, a utility advantage, and a time advantage. Just 35 seconds will tick away against the remaining 2 attackers.
Rampy more than did his job there. He got 2 critical kills, swung the round in Wildcard's favor. But yeah, the damage he did onto Grixer, that's no joke. In this 2v3, you need every single bit of HP you can get, especially with the shotgun on the other side of the wall. Grixer will swing first, and he gets bodied, and Ambi, yeah, he's not going to stay alive much longer. Wildcard, thanks to Rampy and a fantastic little move he made over by that jacuzzi wall, that gives them the 3-3 half and keeps them in this fight as we switch sides.
It was looking pretty rough there with those gym bedroom defenses, but you go 1-4-2, 1-1 as the record over in CCTV and Cash. Honestly, with how dominating the Sonics were being in that first portion of the first half there, coming away with a tie game, you take that if you're Wildcard, truly. And I think right now for the Sonics, the good news is they get to swap over onto the defensive side, where Wildcard on the attack on Bank certainly left a little to be desired, and the attacks looked much improved for the Sonics relative to their performance on Bank. So the Sonics will start downstairs, just as their counterparts did in Wildcard. The operator lineup, almost identical. A lot of time stalling being brought out here with the Tubarão, with the Kaid, with the Smoke. This is a lineup here that is going to be challenging for Wildcard to work their way through. It doesn't look like there's going to be much roaming being done from the Sonics either, implying that they're going to be stacking more towards the bomb site, employing a little bit more of what we saw at Wildcard the second time around on this site, where they were a little more successful.
A lot of explosive utility. That's going to be intimidating to go up against, especially for someone like Rampy, who you're bringing out the skeleton key. You know your job is going to be to get the ceiling open, really move those defenders around, get a good view down below. You got to run into Grixer, Merc, or Rexen. If they throw that C4 up, that could certainly change the game. Not a ton of soft breached utility other than that. You've got Vertical, who is the only other source in the lobby for Wildcard. He's got the breaching rounds and the breaching charges. A little bit of both. It will go a long way in case Rampy goes down. But as you said, Flynn, a full 5-man basement defense in 45 seconds. That's all the time it took for Wildcard to identify this, and they are already getting these hatches open. That is borderline record time, as they knew they did not have to worry about any sort of roam coming in from Sonics. They can go direct to the site and really can take their sweet time in opening up these angles and getting things ready to go.
Yeah, Adam the Wamai was playing a few games towards the main stairs, shooting drones inside of Bar, and maybe fainting at the fact that he was going to be playing more towards the stairs and providing a little bit of an obstacle for Wildcard to maneuver through, but instead he falls back to the bomb site. Vertical, though, has made his way all the way down the blue stairs. Nobody is paying attention, and unfortunately for Wildcard, he only goes 1 for 1. Good news is he takes the Wamai out of the rotation, opens up a hole in towards blue, so Vertical getting active. My only question is, did he say that to anyone else on his team? Because nobody else was in the same area code as him. He just took the opportunity he saw and tried to take it all the way to the house. In 1 for 1, at least it's a neutral position, a 4v4 now for Wildcard to work with. You didn't really sacrifice too much in terms of the attacking utility. You didn't lose too much in terms of the defensive utility. Wildcard still positioning themselves to be going for an armory plant at the end of the day here. So much focus being paid towards this ash wall down the long hallway and the church wall, but there goes the nitro cell from Rexen, stopping Bosco in his tracks at the base of the main stairs.
Yeah, the kill from Vertical there onto Adam. I mean, you're going 1 for 1. Both teams lose just about nothing in terms of utility. It's the kill onto Bosco that's really going to hurt. Now is when Sonics have swung the man advantage in their favor. 30 seconds. Rampy, he's going to make the move through the ash wall, not wasting any more time. Grixer, though, on the swing. C4, it's perfect. Downed and finished. Ambi still has a smoke. That will be sent out quickly, and Spiker, he's going to take a world of hurt from it. He gets the kill onto Rexen through the smoke, but on 1 HP as a result. and with no one around to support him, he is as good as dead. And Soniqs, a simple 5-man basement hold, gets the job done.
By no means is that entire round on Vert, but I do have to audibly wonder what would have happened there if the planter had a little more support by maybe, you know, one more gun in position to make sure that people couldn't swing the long hallway out of the church double door. It was a choice. Again, I don't know if Vert relayed that to the team and they were all good with it, because if so, that's a team decision. I don't know if he just saw the hole, if he saw the gap and thought, I can break open this round. I can make the round-winning play. Going 1 for 1 isn't that bad either. You take a gun away from the board that could have swung the planter, so it goes both ways. Just interesting that he was so isolated and so alone in that position, and no one from Wildcard was there to follow it up and actually make it a team play. It was very individual there from the Ash player of all. But for the Soniqs, they lock it out very easily at the end there. The utility from the smoke and the nitro cells able to repel that plant coming out up against the Ash wall. You would more often than not see that with an Osa shield, but realistically, the nitro cell would have absolutely decimated everything in its path once it was launched out there and there was no cover. So for the Soniqs, good start to the defensive half. Can't complain about a victory there. And now their attention turns to Gym and Bedroom, trying to correct some of the woes that Wildcard had on this specific bomb site on their defensive half.
All right, well, maybe a little more active this time for Soniqs. At least Rexon is just about bouncing all over the place through the first 30 seconds of this one. No crazy early contest, though. They're not jumping out windows. They're not going down in the garage and going for a peek. Once again, Soniqs, similar style here, even though it is a different objective. They are extending over to the CCTV cache side. At the very least, they have a little bit of some utility off the site. You could argue more than a little bit. I mean, a couple of reinforcements, some bandit batteries on the wall, Ambi with some FNAT dread mines in position, and, well, yeah, 3 bodies over here. Wildcard, it's a classic choice you got to make. How aggressively do you want to push us as an attacking team when you see the defense putting so much utility here? For now, Wildcard seem fully committed to this. And, well, so far, so good. They've taken Merc off the board, actually, who wasn't even over here. Ambi, he's also not one of these players on the extension. We're seeing this site hold crumble, and what are these off-site players going to do about it?
Grixer's gonna stand his ground at the top of the red stairs. Bosco goes down. Grixer goes huge for 2, trying to sprint away from the attackers ascending the red stairs. But suddenly, a dire situation turns into a plausible one as Adam and Rexon are the 2 remaining defenders on the side of the Soniqs. Anton and Bosco fall, and now Wildcard looking to recover their position, still in a good one. They do have the man advantage. They have cash and CCTV, albeit at a cost. Rampy, I believe, just took like 5 damage. Could have been just from an electrified wall there. But at the end of the day, this is still a very strong position for Wildcard to be able to facilitate the push across all the way through construction, into logistics, into master. Rampy is the man with the case. Spiker's getting out on rappel and out onto the balcony towards Jacuzzi. So Wildcard, with the 40 seconds they have left in this round, might be opting to go for a slightly different strategy on the approach.
Rexon, oh, just a missed opportunity. 1 bullet could have landed there and ended the life of Vertical, who was around the other side of the wall. Instead, now the smokes come out, and this hold is going to be much more difficult for Adam and Rexon. In this final 15 seconds, it's Wildcard now hopping in. Jim going to be the target. Adam fully blinded as Rampy is also blind, storming fully through the site. The result of the death of Spiker, Rampy looking to trade it. He can't. Rexon denies him and denies the last. Soniqs pulling one out of nowhere as the final 2 combine for the clutch.
Man, Rampy in a tough spot there. As you can see, he's debating it. He's standing directly behind the perched up mattress in the middle of Master. And you can see the wheels turning. Do I go for the plant here? Am I safe to go for the plant? And there really just wasn't a position for anyone on Wildcard to be able to lock down Adam inside of bathroom. That was really the crux of the position, was that Wildcard did not feel safe going for that plant. They decided to play the man advantage that they no longer had. That was down to a 2v2. And it was a tough situation to be in for Wildcard in the attack. They looked so good off rip, being in that 5v3 advantage. That then came down to the 3v2 after the heroics of Grixer at the top of Red Stairs. He nearly got a third on that sprint as well. He nearly got to safety. He could have taken that 1v1 in towards Rafters. So hats off to Grixer on the round. Hats off to the Soniqs for being able to recover that one on the round. And a tough situation for Wildcard there, as they just did not feel comfortable with their execute onto the site, even with the time they had at their disposal. They tried to flood for the kills. It doesn't go their way, and now they stand 2 rounds away from being eliminated from the LCQ.
Well, round 9 feels like it's time for a bold prediction here, Flynn. And maybe you tell me if it's bold or not. But I'm going to say this. If Soniqs win this round, it's over, and it's going to end, 7-3, 7-4. If Wildcard win this round, I think we're going to OT. That might be the aggressive part of this, but I just think if Wildcard can get this one and build some momentum and start to get some of this attacking flow going, I think they can find it. They've been close. We've seen them nearly pulling these moments out or just making one wrong decision at the last second that results in a Soniqs win. They don't take this one on the other hand. I think it's very clear that Soniqs will have all 3 sites down pat, and it will be locked for them to get this win in due time, eliminating Wildcard from the LCQ. What do you think? Think that's bold? Think that's fair?
I say it's borderline. I would say we saw this roster last year in the LCQ in Stage 2 be put in some pretty perilous situations and still come away victorious. Grixer with a smart play there, actually, to throw the Valkyrie camera out and retrieve it before the timer expired, and it was no longer useful. I think for this round here, honestly, yeah, if the Soniqs complete the sweep, they're able to get 3 straight defensive rounds, then it's probably the beginning of the end for Wildcard. And I think, yeah, if Wildcard are able to win this, their attacks do look better than they did on Bank. The pace, the execution, the ability to acquire opening picks does look much stronger than it did a map ago. Spiker, though, trying to fire up through the floorboards. He's not going to do any damage as he's lost almost 50% of his health, and he'll await an adrenal surge to regenerate to push him closer towards 100. But he won't get there, even with the first adrenal surge off the board. The exothermic from Bosco, though, successful as they contend with that Kaid Claw that was placed on the platform wall. Problem is, there's 65 seconds ticking away against Wildcard. They haven't really done a whole lot other than open up this platform breach.
Yeah, here's the problem. It's a little bit fragmented, right? A little bit disjointed. We've seen a couple of different moves, and as you said, some progress from Wildcard. They got the wall open, but in Rafters, they haven't taken this control in Garage. They still need to make a move here, and that's their next big step. Rexon's their target, but he's staring right at this garage door. A good bit of damage, an impact to follow it up, and Rampy is on his last legs. Rexon, though, is all alone, now blinded. The push up the rafters is going to come in swiftly, and without any support, he could be in a tough spot. There it is. Kansan finishes him off. The best chance Wildcard have had here in a round is right now with the final 20 seconds approaching. Kansan is able to get 2. They have a 2-man advantage. They just have to put this down and get the diffuser on the floor. Merc is going to make that difficult. He denies vertical, looking to deny the defuse, unable to, as Kansan and Rampy, the coverage is perfect. Ambi gets the kill onto Bosco with the smoke, but it's just Adam, and he's got to go nuke here. Rafter control sacrifice, the platform wall open. Nearly found that one onto Kansan, but not quite. Wildcard can sit back, play this one safe, and yeah, just maybe we'll have a chance to see if that prediction comes to fruition or not. Wildcard, they do take an attacking round here, so Soniqs are unable to complete the rotation, leading by 1 here as we continue on Club.
Well, a tough one there for the Soniqs on the defense, and again, Rafter's position, so crucial to holding CCTV in cash, and without the Azami in play, that does make life a lot more difficult. And you can see there for the Wamai playing inside of Rafters, just trying to survive, and he almost picked up a kill, almost went 1 for 1 with Zofia, but unfortunately for the side of the Soniqs, they weren't in a position to support their Rafters player, and they also weren't in a position to stop the plant once it was initiated. Adam on the Kaid was over and towards construction, and even his return into cash to be in position to launch the Nitro Cell would have been well late. So the plant going down in good time, in good fashion from Wildcard. They get 1 back on the board, but now begins the perilous journey back through the 2 bomb sites that you were unsuccessful in attacking. For the Soniqs here on the defense, this is a good position to be in still. And again, we are bringing out some time delay operators, but no Kaid claws coming out this time around from the side of the Soniqs. We still have the Tubarao, but now we got the Solus in play from the side of SQ and Grixer himself. This might indicate a little more map control being held from the Soniqs earlier in the portions of the rounds.
Well, I made that prediction in the last round. Wildcard, they took it, so I mean, maybe overtime is coming if Wildcard can keep up that momentum, but all Soniqs technically have to do is, you know, do what they did to get to this point. Take 2 defensive wins in a row. That will get them to 7. That's curtains. We say goodbye to Wildcard. The Wildcard have come close, as we've said. And this is their chance to equalize. Working their way through this top floor once again. Soniqs will not be employing a roam of any kind. They do not have to worry about dealing with anyone on those top 2 floors. Maybe you would think that Grixer on the Solus would be a little bit more active, but no, he's going to save that utility, use that gadget, maybe go for a flank later, but right now it is all about staying down below and waiting. This worked very well for them last time. No reason why the same outcome cannot happen again here.
Yeah, and you think all the way back to round number 1, it wasn't necessarily a flank. It did look like it was an attempted flank coming out from Kansas on the Solus when he won that 1v3 clutch to win the first round of the map for Wildcard. Maybe a potential for Grixer to employ the entirety of the flank if he needs to. Now we've got impact tricks coming out towards the kitchen hatch. 1 impact utilized, 2 X-Kairos removed from play. And yet, 2 successful detonations onto the kitchen hatch with 2 pellets each, meaning that the kitchen hatch will be opened up with 1:20 on the clock. So Wildcard in a good position with their ability to open kitchen hatch. They're not going to have as many impediments towards opening Moto as they did the previous time around. The Zoto canisters, imagine, will still be a nuisance, but there's no Kaid Claw to play with in tandem. Rampy will start ripping up the kitchen floorboards. And we've seen this execute onto kitchen a million times before. We will see it a million times again. Wildcard, though, they are slowing their pace down slightly. Every one of the Soniqs still holding their power positions. And now this is going to be the problem for Bosco on that Maverick, being slowed by the Zoto. His breach is being slowed, and he's the man carrying the diffuser.
Let's see what I can find.
See Merc. He knows he's pretty much done his job and essentially gotten Wildcard to rotate here. Delayed enough that they're just going to go in from the other side and make their move now. Vertical starts things off well. A push down secret gets him a kill. He's looking towards dirt, and as this Moto push comes in, Wildcard are set up for success here. They just have to land the shots. Adam getting that kill onto Kansan is big. That will delay things even further, but here comes Rampy storming in and getting 2 big kills. It gives Bosco time to get this diffuser down and gives Wildcard a chance. More than a chance, it gives them a winning round. A triple kill for Rampy, and it's just Merc alone for the Soniqs. A retake from behind. He's got to worry about someone up top, and Wildcard tie us up.
Man, Rampy really is the MVP of that round, being able to flood into church through Moto door. You could see the change. Once Bosco identified that he wasn't really going to be able to open up dirt and push with the diffuser down to facilitate the tandem push from kitchen with that hatch open, they had to make a change. They had to make a call on the fly. Vert this time pushes halfway down the blue stairs and is able to collect a kill for it to really open things up and allow the push through the Moto door into church. Much better use of the Ash there in that round as compared to the last time around we saw him attack that bomb site. I think overall for Wildcard, a good response. That it was being stalled out though. It was being stalled out until Rampy lights up like being shot out of a cannon through Moto door. He's got the C8 for the first kill, the skeleton key for the second one, allows the plant to start getting down. Man, that was a round that looked like it was again going to come down to the wire for the side of Wildcard. That might not have been the cleanest of executes, but Rampy steps up when he's needed most. And suddenly a situation where Jonah and I, you were talking about maybe this series being over. Once again, we find ourselves deadlocked and needing at least 12 rounds.
That's what Jesse foretold. He said 7-5 Soniqs. We're going all the way to regulation, but they pull it out. Feels like we're seeing overtime approach. Don't really know. One thing we do know is that on bank, Soniqs, after they took their time out, that is when we did see a turnaround from them. if you're a Sonics fan, you're hoping that the pattern remains the same. They take that time out, they take a moment to think things over, and they conclude that going back to gym and bedroom is their next best bet. They will not be repeating that basement hold. Back up top also means we got to see if that extension is going to come through again, and it will, over on that cache and CCTV side. But the real concern here is that, well, Flynn, I would argue that this site, this was a round that Sonics really shouldn't have won. It looked initially like Wildcard were totally taking over, and then eventually Sonics were able to work their way back into it.
Certainly, and I think man advantage established early was key to that success for Wildcard through 95% of that round. Like you said, the last 5% didn't swing their way, but it was a good recovery from the Sonics. Now isolation of a defender trying to rotate into rafters. Kansan will cut that off as we see the presence of the Montaigne once again. That was coming out a lot in our first matchup between OXG and SSG Academy. Hasn't really been as present in this matchup thus far. Now at 5-5, Kansan cracks open the war chest to break out the Montaigne, change up the strategy, at least in terms of the operator selected, but not changing the strategy on the side of Wildcard, not going for an isolation and trying to rush the bomb site with a man advantage. Instead, going to replicate their success with their far side clear, which got them the first 2 opening picks the last time they attacked this bomb site.
Kansan on the Monty. Instead of avoiding it, you're going to have Wildcard going in full bore to clear this extension, and well, it's worked beautifully. They've opened up the wall, and as a result, the Sonics fall back. Don't waste too much time in doing that. They make sure not to give up any of their lives. Honestly, I think both teams are decently happy with the progression of this. Sonics, they have everyone up, and Wildcard, same goes for them, and now they're starting to take this space that they so dearly need. Plenty of utility still remaining, plenty of time remaining. Still 7 drones in pocket. What isn't good about this? It's just going to come down to, again, these final few moments and how Wildcard is able to play around Kansan. We've seen how pivotal the Monty can be. We saw this in our first series of the night as well. Playing around the Monty properly will get you quick round wins, but letting him get isolated, leaving him alone will quickly get you into trouble. For now, that will remain a mystery. That will likely come in the next 30 seconds, though. As you have vertical down below, his target is the main stairs. The rest of this push, it's coming in from construction right about now.
Rampy going for the plant. Bosco, though, dropped Adam and Grixer, the SMG-11s. They all come to life. Rexon tags in as well, putting the diffuser on the ground that Kansan has to recollect. The plant being denied by the stout defense of the Sonics, and now in a 2v5 is heavily in favor of the Sonics in the man advantage. Kansan's alone inside of construction with that final toxic canister locking him out of master. It will expire. He will enter. One on the ADS. Nearly a second, flicking for more, but he's run out of ammunition in the magazine and has to go for the reload. Spiker trying to level his way through Logi. It's a 1v3 now, make it a 1v2 as Kansan is going absolutely ballistic on the Montaigne shield. The ADS, but Grixer! The response on the ADS with the shotgun. The Sonics had the 5v2. The shield brought it damn close, but they do put us on a match and series point.
Yeah, Grixer shaking that one off a bit. We saw the same reaction from Ambi. A little sigh of relief as that one got a little too close to comfort in the end. But at the end of the day, that is a Sonics round win that puts them on map point and match point, series point, a point that would advance them to the next round of the LCQ where they have a date. Well, they have a date. Well, they're on the same side of the bracket as we just saw, right? We're staying on the same side today?
Yep.
Sweet. So they will look forward to that one and have OXG to worry about. While on the other side of the bracket, we'll figure that situation out tomorrow with what happens with Luminosity, Los Mangos, Space Station, and Makers. But right now, as the 12th round of regulation approaches here on Clubhouse, our focus has to remain here and on Wildcard, as they now need to win this next round, or they'll head into the long offseason.
Well, you got to give a lot of credit to Wildcard for being able to constantly pull these games back when they look like they're spiraling. The Sonics have been able to generate a lot of momentum and pick up consecutive rounds that really do make it look like Wildcard, they aren't in it, and they pick themselves up by their bootstraps. They persevere through the adversity, and they're able to pull themselves back into the matches. But we saw this a couple times through the group stage where the pullback wasn't enough, and they didn't clinch that win that would have put them in a playoff position. Most notably in that final play day against Darkseer, they're never really able to steer out of the skid per se. And now for the Soniqs, they stand on match point, series point, Wildcard. Started to let things get away to begin the map, but they go on a storming run to bring themselves back into contention. Just like we saw from overtime on Bank, though, the Soniqs are trying to lock this out in a defiant fashion, make sure that there's no opportunity to Wildcard to continue to claw away at the lead that the Soniqs once had. It'll be a basement defense coming out from the Soniqs to try and wrap things up, and a slight alteration to the lineup. We've got the Fenrir and the Kaid back in the rotation. So slight changes in terms of operator loadout once again on the side of SQ, but it seems like in terms of personnel and deployment, nothing much has changed. We're not occupying too much of the map other than the bomb site itself.
Well, let's see what Wildcard have in store for us after that timeout. As before, they're going to quickly drone out the top 2 floors and identify that they're pretty much chilling, that they are good to go. Good to make that entry directly into that first floor and start the work on the site ASAP. They've known that both times they attacked the basement. Soniqs, same game plan. They are not going to roam. The first time it worked for the Soniqs, the second time, not so much, because Rampy popped off. Now, Kansan, he is leading the way in terms of kills right now. 14 for Wildcard. Rampy with 10, both double digits here. But you are going to need another Herculean effort for Wildcard if you're going to want to pull this out. We've seen how difficult it can be to overpower Soniqs on this site.
A vault into kitchen, and Adam holding the window through a pixel angle through the floor with that TCSG, but he's unable to land a singular shot onto Kansan. And it looked like while he was making impact tricking holes and vision holes towards that kitchen window, he had inadvertently used that slug shotgun to open up the floor to Logi as well from the basement. It seemingly caused a moment of distraction for Wildcard. It might have eaten up 10 or 20 seconds to confirm that there was no one playing upstairs in logistics. But now, with a minute remaining, we're starting to see the kitchen hatch get opened up. They've worked through Adam's Kaid claws. They have the Moto hatch open as well, blue hatch open. Bosco is able to Maverick open dirt without being quelled by the Tubarão. Rexen not in position to stop that. So Bosco, once again with the diffuser, they're making the change. They're going back to the primary attacking approach that they wanted to go for the first time around, leaving Rampy to make some heroic plays, but this time around, it will most likely be a kitchen and dirt execute coming out from Wildcard to keep them going.
Ooh, Bosco's got info. He's going to act as quick as he can off it. Adam just barely escapes alive, turning around to exchange just a few bullets with Bosco. Couple more, exchange through the wall. Vertical, he'll be the one to get on the board first. Ambi, 2 quick kills as he whips around for the double. A 3v3 here as Spiker brings it back to even. Wildcard, they now take the lead and give Bosco a chance to get this diffuser down. Merc and Rexen need to see this retake happen, but it's going to be so hard for Merc. He doesn't even know where these bullets are coming from. 1 HP. Spiker will finish it off, and to overtime we go.
Back-to-back maps requiring some extra time. Why not? Between the two teams that honestly have been so close, we even saw it in the stat sheet after the conclusion of Bank, which was map number 1. Very, very minor points of difference between the two statistically, and very, very minor points of difference between the two in terms of the round count. It was an 8-6 win for the Soniqs on Bank. Now tie things up at 6-6. Wildcard, again, able to get the execute they wanted the first time around, and it goes, honestly, even better than the scrappy one they had to put together in the dire moments. Soniqs, though, still on the defense, into overtime for 2 out of the 3 rounds, if all 3 are necessary for overtime. Wildcard on the attack. They're going to have to approach gym and bedroom, and no Montaigne coming out as of yet on the side of Wildcard. That might change once they identify what the bomb site is, but with Kansan with a drone that's now been shotgunned away underneath the green box, the Soniqs in a position to try and hold out once again up here to put themselves once again onto match and series point after Wildcard have momentarily anyway pulled themselves away from the brink of defeat.
Well, for better or for worse, Flynn, my prediction came true. They won that round, and here we are in OT. You just kind of felt that coming. Wild card and this game being so back and forth, they finally get that attacking momentum. Oh, but Grixer looking to change that. Gets active early. Finally, a big shift here in the Soniqs defense. Well, big or not, a shift at the very least. We have seen a fairly passive defense pretty much every time. Grixer choosing overtime to mix it up and kill Rampy. That is a big blow for Wildcard.
Certainly is, considering how integral Rampy has been to the performance of this team so far through this series. It's also the skeleton key removed, so removing the soft panel that is Mav tricked away here, or remaining after the Mav trick from Bosco, is also going to be slightly more difficult. You do have Rotero drones, and that will be what Kansan will utilize this for. Now, for the moment, Wildcard changing the approach. It looked like they were going to entertain. Yeah, I was going to say, that's still electrified. You got to shoot the bandit battery. That's not how that works. But regardless, Wildcard opting to not go for the far side clear, instead amassing many forces outside the Jacuzzi balcony after the conclusion of the Maverick tricking of the Jacuzzi wall. This might be an isolation attempt for Wildcard to rush into the bomb site, but they've taken a lot of time and revealed a lot of their positioning by stacking so many members with so much loud utility over towards the Jacuzzi wall. There really might not be an opportunity to have much of a surprise effect.
Yeah, Wildcard, their position is known here. Grixer, oh, another huge kill on the round. This one onto Spiker, shuts down the ace. Now Soniqs, they are really sitting pretty. The only thing they have to make sure not to do is force it. Looks like it doesn't matter. They're just gonna go for every single gunfight and win it. No problem at all. A flawless round to start off overtime. Talk about a heck of a way to start.
Well, I was wrong about the focal point of the approach for Wildcard in the attack. I thought with everyone shifting over towards Jacuzzi wall, that was going to be the main point of ingress, but instead we go all the way back over to the far side to cash in CCTV. Just truthfully get decimated. The Soniqs standing tall on the far side, not losing bodies to a Montaigne forcing them out of position, not losing bodies to potentially any soft breach down below, as Rampy was that buck who was the opening death in the spawn peak from Grixer. So that might have also altered the abilities for Wildcard to have the similar kind of effect at clearing out the cash and CC side as they had previously. Now, the Soniqs, they were on match point, series point 2 rounds ago. And we're back. Didn't take long. They won Bank 8-6 after defiantly winning both rounds in overtime on Bank, and they're looking to do the same thing here on Clubhouse. Wildcard onto the defense, try and keep themselves alive once again, pull themselves off the back burner. They'll head down to the basement to do so, employing much of that similar roaming lineup that we saw all the way back from round number 1, where Kansan had to clutch a 1v3 just to get them on the board and keep them alive. Again, clutch rounds are very nice to have. It's not something you want to bank on repeatedly. So they're going to have a much greater effect on the roam in terms of standing their ground or falling back without suffering casualties.
16 kills though for Kansan. That is no joke, as you pointed out.
Having a day.
Having quite a day. Yes, indeed. Quite a night now, as we are, at least on the East Coast, we're pushing midnight here and could easily go well into the wee hours of the morning if Wildcard have anything to say about this one. Hoping to get this round, tie us up, round 15. Map 3 is Border. I mean, how back and forth this has been. That map is going to be so fun to watch in the chaos that it often is. Gotta get there first, though, and that's Wildcard's #1 job here. Surviving this defensive round. Statistically, we have gone even on both sides here, 3-3. Soniqs taking that defensive win, though. This one would be a heck of a way to mix things up with an attacking win. But as we've seen, well, it was about 50-50 in terms of if that's going to happen or not. This basement site, Soniqs looking to approach it as they have plenty of times. Slowly, methodically, but eventually, thanks to Spiker dropping away, Soniqs should now know they've got control of these top 2 floors.
Well, you can see multiple silhouettes from the Wildcard side stacked towards the blue stairs, stacked towards the middle of lounge. But that logic bomb, it forces them all to peel back as Adam was pushing his way through the bottom of garage, ready to take aim against those potential combatants. But instead, the logic bomb forces them all to retreats. With the very least, Wildcard's defense has been successful at killing some time, absorbing some utility, and falling back to the objective in numbers. No casualties suffered this time around on the extension. They all make it back to the site. There's 60 seconds remaining, and there's going to be one hell of a brawl to get into the bomb site. The real question is, where are the Soniqs going to end up going? The Zoos still have a lot of utility they can utilize to open up all avenues towards the bomb site. But now with flashes coming out above the Moto hatch, a shotgun prepped and waiting, and the first smoke babe going out into the depths of Moto to stop any progression from the attack. It's going to mean that the Soniqs have to hesitate and stall a little bit longer.
Yeah, but Grixer's not. Even though there's smoke up, a lot of utility in his way, he just drops it and goes for it. Doesn't work for him. Doesn't work for Ambi either. Bosco pulls it off. He has a little bit of damage to worry about coming from the blue side of things, and here they come! Rexon, 2, Adam for 1, and Kansas, he's got 16, but he needs 3 more. He's got 1, he's got 2 with the P90, a double kill, but Adam denies the clutch. A huge sigh of relief from Adam as Soniqs will squeak another overtime win out from under the Wildcard clutches. They send Wildcard out of the last chance qualifier and book themselves a date with OXG.
Holy, what in the seesaw round was that? It seemed firmly in the control of Wildcard. A shotgun positioned on the Moto door, ready to shut down any entry. And all of a sudden, it's a 3v1 turned 1v1 that was previously in the favor of the Soniqs. The man advantage changed hands like 3 times in the course of 15 seconds at the conclusion of that round. But nonetheless, like you say, it's an 8-6 scoreline, just like we saw on Bank. It's 8-6, 8-6, a 2-0 victory for the Soniqs in this best of 3. And like you said earlier, they now have a date on Wednesday with Oxygen in the first semifinal of the last chance qualifier. A beautiful story for the Soniqs to start rebounding, and an unfortunate near miss there for Wildcard, as they really did push the Soniqs all the way to their limit.
Man, Wednesday's going to be quite a day with the 2 semifinals and the final coming up, but we still have 2 more games to see tomorrow. But a little more to talk about tonight. We're going to break this one down, and man, do we have a lot to talk about. A quick break, and the desk will come back to close us off. We'll be right back.
Well, it got close, and honestly, Lax, a little too close for comfort at the end there, but in the end, Soniqs should take this victory 2-0. That was a crazy end, I'm not gonna lie.
It was quite the barn burner. I honestly thought that it was going to kind of be a one-sided affair, but as we were watching that game continue, there were many different areas where both these teams were completely throwing rounds. So then it left me for a loop of like, okay, this is going to be the game that's going to go the distance, and it didn't go the distance.
Such a fun game, honestly. Really back and forth between those 2 squads. Just what you want to end of the night. It's a shame Wildcard go out 0-2. I think they're a better team than that. I think they deserve to win at least 1 map here for the LCQ. But Soniqs put them down back-to-back maps, and they ended up being the better team today. So they'll continue on, moving to the semifinals.
I mean, too, like, yes, you can look at that 2-0, and yeah, Soniqs did put them down back-to-back maps, but the fact that we got overtime going back in both of these, Jesse, I think just is incredible. Like, it got to a point where at the end there, I thought we were going for another round.
Yeah, I mean, at the end when Kansan puts up the back-to-back kills, first he's in the 1v3, you're like, okay, great. It's going to be the end of the game. And then Kansan comes through and he hits 2 shots, and he sees, like, the third guy is right there. He 100% could have hit it, but, I mean, he was already putting up, I think, 18 kills that game. You could only ask so much of Kansan. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to push him to 15.
And something to talk about as well. I mean, it was something that we talked about when we're going into this with Grixer rejoining, and you have to like talk about the form that he was in too, not just in playing form, but like actually form with the fractured shoulder here, Lax. I mean, I don't think I could really tell by how he is playing, but to all of a sudden be thrown like back into this and then play with that is crazy.
I mean, that's definitely insane. It just shows he's flicking way too hard. He has to relax, and he definitely wasn't doing his shoulder any bit of favor. Even in the round prior to that last round, I believe he ended up getting a 3K or a 4K. And some of those shots, I mean, it went to like a zoom in of him, and he was like just wow, like he was starstruck. So I can only tell you that he's flicking that arm, and that shoulder's definitely got to be hurting after this. So at least it was a dub that came out of it nonetheless.
I mean, listen, it's a superstar performance coming through from him. Obviously, you got to put in the work. You got to put in it all when you're in such a precarious position. Your team has been thrown down to the LCQ without you. He comes back, puts up a great game here today. I really liked how they swapped things up that first round of overtime. You know, rounds 11 and 12, it really felt like Soniqs on the defense were starting to get a little bit almost complacent. Like we kept seeing Wildcard get so much control for free. They would get to go for whatever execute they wanted. They didn't win both 11 and 12, right? Soniqs did end up clutching that gym bedroom round, but it just felt like so often in these defensive rounds, there wasn't anything happening in the early round. There was something happening in the mid round for Soniqs to really take advantage and stop Wildcard from getting everything they wanted. And then round 13 comes around, Grixer picks up the soul and says, screw it, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna get that man advantage for the team. Does exactly that, grabs that 3K. Pretty massive coming through from there in the overtime. But honestly, really competitive game from both these squads. Even going back to the beginning, really enjoyed how Soniqs were rocking some of that Deimos play. Wildcard on the defense has had some cool ideas. So all in all, just a really entertaining game.
Yeah, and this was the game that we said that this was going to be the one to look out for, and this literally showed it entirely. Both 6-8s, both maps, both games extremely close. Even when you look at the stat lines, I think this one is a little more ahead than what we saw in Bank, but nonetheless, I mean, again, it does suck that Wildcard is out, and unfortunately only one team can make it nonetheless. We're probably going to be saying that throughout this, but it's still good to go out on a performance where everyone's popping off, everyone's showing up. It's just not this one individual that's carrying a team. Well, I guess you could say Kansan was doing that, but at least for the Soniqs' sake, everyone was firing, and especially for Grixer to be coming back and still putting up the numbers that we've seen him put up in the past, that's great nonetheless.
Yeah, and I want to go back on one of these rounds, round 8 actually, and talk about Rexon a little bit here, Lax, because there is a play coming out here, like using the canter to slow down to help take this gunfight. I think was just really, really well done.
Yeah, I mean, Zoto canisters are obviously for a lot of denial in terms of utility, but Rexon uses the Zoto canister here. As you saw, he throws it towards that con, which that allows him to push up into this position and take Rampy in this 1v1. Sure, Rampy misreads the play and swings out too late to find that, but initially that slowed down Vertical from coming in. So it just shows how versatile those Zoto canisters can be in terms of making a pivotal play. And in that round, and again, in that round in particular, he slowed down Vert so he could make that entry into that site, cleaning up Rampy, and then immediately following up with the kill onto Vert, closing out that round. So wonderful plays from Rexon with that Zoto canister.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show, like, not only is Rexon mechanically incredible, but also he's got the brains, right? I mean, he knows how to use every piece of utility in such unique ways. That's something that I think we obviously saw when Super Out came out. In the new Ubisoft videos, they were like, you can slow your opponents when they come around corners, and people didn't really use it for that, but it's nice to see that come out sometimes. There's a reason why Rexon's been on this roster for so long.
Really cool to see, and excited to see more from going forward. But we'll go back to talking about Grixer here and actually go and talk to him for our post-match interview here. So first off, have to address right away your shoulder. How are you feeling, especially after playing out through these 2 overtime maps?
I mean, it's tough, you know, like you guys can't see it, but I literally have like a brace on under my shoulder. Like I'm trying to keep it as still as I could. There was one round in Bank where there was like a 2v1 and we ended up winning the round. I think it was me and Adam, and I like flicked to the guy and I felt my shoulder, like, you know, I felt it hurt a little bit. But I mean, I think with the adrenaline as well, like it just kind of almost like numbs the pain too a little bit. So I mean, I don't even know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, it's tough, but I mean, of course it's doable.
A little good mid-match, but you'll probably pay for that one as things start to slow down for the rest of the night here. Can I ask how you fractured it? Like, what happened?
Oh, I was just playing like the soccer league, and I just got fouled like pretty bad. And I mean, it's kind of unlucky because it's just like a league that I decided to like sign up with just to like do it for fun. And I mean, I played soccer like my whole life for like 19 years and no injuries. And then I just signed up for like a recreational league, and next thing you know, like I end up with like a fractured shoulder like a couple of days before the LCQ. So I mean, it's tough, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
The timing of it too, especially you're rejoining the roster now for the last chance qualifiers after the team didn't quite make it onto Manchester, and like this is do or die scenario. So how is it then with everything going on and having to all of a sudden jump back in the squad and be on peak form because you can't make any misstep.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you'd think there'd be a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, it's like the only pressure that there is like the amount of pressure that you put on yourself. You know, like there's no need to put more pressure on yourself just because like it's the last chance. You know, like I've been here before with like Richie. You know, we had a run through the LCQ and we ended up making it. You know, we ended up beating Beast Coast. So it's nothing new. You know, like obviously circumstances are different, teams are different and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you know, I think if we play the game that we know how to play, I know that we're better than all these teams.
Definitely glad to hear that. I'm excited to see more from Soniqs going on forward. And next up, you're going to be facing up against Oxygen, another team that we've gotten to see some good things out. Like, how are you feeling ahead of this matchup?
I'm good. I mean, I'm still feeling great. Honestly, like still really confident in the boys. Those guys are all really good players. You know, those guys can all kill. Those guys are just all very talented players. But I think, you know, we have 5 better players than them. So as long as we execute the game plan, play better Siege, and show up, and I think that we're gonna win that game.
All right, I'm excited to see it. I'll let you go. Make sure to go ice that shoulder. But congratulations again on your win. All right.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah. As for us, back over to the desk to be wrapping up our day. Slowly but surely, we'll get there. What's up? I mean, 3 days of competition, hopefully 3 days of competition ahead if Soniqs can make it into this. Actually, no, you get a rest day. You get to go on forward. I mean, that's still tough, Lax. Like that shoulder, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really played with any broken bones or torn ligaments, so I could only imagine. He said it himself, you know, there was one round where he swung a guy or flicked to a guy and he felt it, but then, you know, the adrenaline kicked in, which I think definitely plays a factor in that as well. But he's certainly going to be feeling that later tonight, no doubt. But I mean, the fact he's still playing to the ability that he's playing and the level that he's playing at, I mean, there's a lot of tenacity in that guy.
There 100% is, but he'll have a day of rest. Looking over to the bracket, of course. That was just our first set of the quarterfinal matches. Tomorrow, we're going to be featuring on Luminosity, Los Mangos, and then Space Station and Makers later on. Because we have to figure out, Jesse, who's going to be on the other end of the semifinal bracket.
Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be really interesting because we get a bit of tier 1 versus tier 2 action on both of our quarterfinals. Obviously, Makers, a lot of expectations on them getting first place through the open qualifiers. Not that Space Station will be an easy opponent, but that should be a really good game. And then Luminosity and Los Mangos. I mean, Los Mangos for me are the biggest wild card of this tournament. They're definitely the least known players out of anybody competing so far. So for them to go up against Luminosity, also kind of fitting, one of the newer Pro League and tier 1 teams. So should be some great games tomorrow, obviously.
I'm excited. It should be a good time. Before we wrap this up, because Lex, I know you won't be with us tomorrow. Any final thoughts from you ahead of what tomorrow might be like for us?
I'm expecting some really good matches. I mean, truthfully, I'm really excited to see Makers. I think they are the best T2 team coming into this entire LCQ. So I'm really excited to see what they put up against these pro teams. But I think overall, this has just been a blast at the regular stage, at the playoffs, and now the LCQs, and working here with you. And again, happy birthday, Sia.
Thank you. I think
birthday.
Thank you. If we didn't go to overtime, we could have ended this all on my birthday, but we're about 10 minutes past midnight for me, so a little past that. But thank you so much for making the birthday great. It's been a fun time, and anyone who's just been watching for the Siege, of course, not for the birthday, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to be coming back in tomorrow for our next set of quarterfinal matches. We'll see you then.